That's always the goal going in. And, 22 was 22. The 23 season, last game of the year, we're right there. And even last year at the end, we didn't play as good as I thought we should have, but we were still kind of in the mix. And then you go back to 21, and we're in the driver's seat, and we piss it down.
And here we go. Good Wednesday morning to you. Once again, Westfield, Indiana is where we call home. We will do that today, tomorrow, Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. When the Colts have a morning practice, James Boyd, you and I are right here. Thank you to Cam, on-site engineer. Thank you to Mark Dykton back in studio. And shout out to Ken from Grand Park. He delivers these ice-cold waters to us every morning. Gosh, does the sun always look that beautiful?
I'm usually not outside to see it, so I guess so.
I mean, that is...
we do have a great view, though. Most Indiana view ever, but I like it.
Once again, hashtag Indiana, Troy Glendenning getting the fields ready to go. They will be in use today. First practice coming up 10 a.m. today. Typical with the start to training camp. They'll kind of ease into things, an hour-long session, I believe today and tomorrow, maybe a hair over an hour tomorrow, but expect some activities to ramp up. Again, it's a 4-day stretch here to start training camp. It's the longest stretch of consecutive practices the Colts will have all camp long. Josh Downs, we were hoping to sneak him in at the end of the show yesterday, but we will play that for you coming up at 7:30. Again, enjoyed the conversation with Josh yesterday, so we'll play that for you at 7:30. And, obviously anytime the GM talks, James, it was some level of news from Chris Ballard yesterday. We'll certainly hit on Anthony Richardson, but I can't recall. This is my 15th training camp covering the Colts. I don't know if I've ever sat here on the first day of practice and not seen a single player on the physically unable to perform list. Now, we know Zaire Franklin will not practice, but his absence is not expected to be too long, so I don't know. I haven't seen an injury report this healthy to start camp in quite some time.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. We'll have to see along the same lines of Zaire Franklin being out for a little while if there's anybody else that might be a little bit dinged up. But still, a very positive sign for your team going into training camp because, as Josh Downs told us, and you'll hear from him later on this hour, I believe, but he told us, your body never really feels as good as it does to start, the year. So that is a good sign for the Colts.
Mark, good morning to you. How are things back in studio?
They are good. I miss you guys. Shout out to Cluster Truck yesterday that delivered me some nice food while you guys were out. So I did get to see another human, that being Evan Sherrill. He smells a lot better than you guys do, so it was nice to see him.
Smells, looks better.
Yeah.
He brings better gifts than we do. So
yeah, but other than that, I mean, it's me rolling solo, so zipper is going down, guys.
I was going to say a little breezy in there.
Boy, easy now. HR might be in there soon here on this Wednesday morning. Obviously, some Chris Ballard audio we can get to. I thought Kurt Cignetti was feeling himself out in the city of sin yesterday.
You knew he was going to go there, Kevin. He heard you hating on him on the show, and he was like, this is for Kevin Bone.
The thing about Sig that I'm always struck by, he's always ready. I mean, he is. When he comes with the zingers, it's not just no substance behind it. I mean, he has got ample ammo behind it. So we might have time for a Kurt Cignetti Clippers as well. Tyrese Halliburton spoke yesterday. First time we've heard really from him in a full capacity since obviously a month ago and a day ago, Game 7. So plenty of audio to get to, but let's begin with the Anthony Richardson news from yesterday. I guess you don't call it totally no restrictions. The restriction is volume and not lack of participation. At the end of the spring, It was no participation. The expectation is right in front of us, James, in about 2.5 hours when the quarterbacks come out to warm up. Anthony Richardson will be practicing, but the thought is maybe some scaled back volume, particularly here in the first week or so of camp.
Yes, and I believe you might have had a chance to throw this question at Chris Ballard towards the end of his availability. And correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, but I believe it was something like, does the lack of practices in the spring affect any of the quarterback battle? Does Anthony need to regain some ground here? And Chris Ballard sort of dismissed that notion. Now, I do believe you have the practices. Like, how many was it? I think it was 7.
7 of 9.
He was not
missed.
available
right.
for.
I don't think Chris's numbers matched up with my numbers.
No.
There you go.
But nevertheless, it did not sound like he was all too concerned about what the spring entailed. Now, that could just be him telling us some stuff to make sure that he keeps the QB competition, I guess, as open as possible in theory. But I thought that was a bit interesting to hear him basically say, no, this is still a very open competition, and we'll evaluate every single thing throughout the preseason. And as you've pointed out, Kevin, a lot and profusely throughout this show, the games are going to matter so much more this year in the preseason.
Yeah, Ballard did kind of confirm that notion that they will indeed play in the preseason, and those will be important evaluation points, which I certainly agree with. There's a couple of Ballard, angles we can go to with Richardson. I did think, the back and forth you and him had is interesting, and one that I want to get to here upcoming in a bit. But just focus on Richardson's level of participation here for just a second. By the way, with this view, I'm always struck by how, the field is really a crown.
Yeah.
Like if we were reading this as like a putt, that'd be an uphill putt to the goalpost right there, I guess that makes sense, right, from a rain standpoint.
Some beautiful greens, though, I must say.
It looks like Augusta National to me. Terrific work from the Grand Park grounds crew, and of course the Colts grounds crew as well. But yeah, I would say this with Richardson. I know I've hit on this a few times over the last week or so, but again, James, for me, it's when does it get to 50-50? When do him and Daniel Jones get back to splitting the starting reps? Because that was the thought back in the spring. These guys are going to split what reps. They're even going to split them within a practice, not just, hey, one day's Jones, one day's Richardson. So, again, as we start to look at this week and you base it off of Ballard's words yesterday, they go today, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday. I would say at the earliest it seems like maybe Saturday would be when Richardson could possibly be splitting those starting reps again. Circle Saturday, especially I think circle Monday and Tuesday, because if you look at next week, they go 5 days next week. 2 straight days is the longest stretch they go all next week. So next week, there shouldn't be the volume scale back, in my opinion. So for me, yes, you can point to Saturday as a day, like, all right, maybe he scales it back Thursday or Friday.
Right.
And then Saturday he ramps it back up. But I'm really kind of circling Monday, Tuesday. 5 practices over the course of next week. Then you go to Baltimore for the joint session and the first preseason game. That's probably the important dates for me. They're all important, to be fair, with Anthony Richardson, but those are the real big ones for me.
Absolutely. And I'm curious to know, Kevin, you talk about scaling up. How often will you have to scale back, if you scale back at all, once he gets fully ramped up? You know what I mean? Just because of the injury history there with the shoulder. And I did have a chance to ask Chris Ballard yesterday, is this something you all will have to monitor going forward because of the just injury history with Anthony and how delicate shoulders can be? Is that something where for the rest of his career, perhaps he doesn't go full bore like the rest of your quarterbacks or like other quarterbacks around the league? And I'm not saying you still can have a successful career with that in mind, but I believe that they will certainly keep a closer eye on his shoulder. And for his sake, Kevin, as we've talked about throughout the show, really throughout his career here in Indianapolis, and as of late even more, you can't have any more slip-ups. Like, we can't get out here and, come Friday, Saturday, and it's, we got to shut him down. Oh, he's feeling too sore. Because at that point, then you really have to question his ability to get out there, and it kind of reinforces why you brought in Daniel Jones.
Yeah, the next setback might be the end.
I know, and it's tough to say that because
but that's reality.
You want him to be healthy, and obviously we don't root for anybody to be injured, but the reality is that we can't trust him to be healthy. I mean, if you look at all the numbers from when he started his career here till now, they're not very promising. I mean, obviously 17 missed games because of injuries, and has never started more than 4 games in a row in the NFL. So, and then we get to the spring of this year, and it's I'm sore again. So that can't be a conversation we're having next week.
Avalanche late third quarter, early fourth last night absolutely doomed the Fever. If anybody watched the game, I thought the Fever played pretty darn well through 2.5 quarters, and they actually led by, I think it might have been 7 there late in the third, and then it just got out of hand in a hurry there, which I think was the expectation going into the game. Frankly, I didn't think the Fever would be leading by 7 late in the third quarter, but the Liberty run away from the Fever there down the stretch. Again, Caitlin Clark did not play. Kelsey Mitchell, big scoring night for her. I think it was 29, but tying a season high in turnovers for the Fever as they restart here the second half of the season with a loss in the Big Apple.
What kind of stood out to me, Kevin, it reminded me a little bit, not fully, of Game 7 when you don't have your best player, and I'm talking about Game 7 with the Pacers. But when you don't have your best player, I feel like most teams can hang if you're really good, which I think the Fever, when they're fully healthy, they're a very good team, and they've shown that they can beat some of the best teams in the WNBA. However, you're like losing the battle of attrition. At some point, not having your star player, not having even just Caitlin Clark having the attention on her, even if she isn't playing well, you still have to account for her presence. That is going to wear down at some point. I felt like that was sort of the case yesterday. Was like, man, they needed the extra punch, the extra bit of juice, and they ran out of gas because you're expecting a lot of these players to play above their normal role, normal minutes, and they gave a valiant effort, but obviously, valiant efforts don't matter in professional sports. It's all about how you finish, and they were not able to finish last night against a very good stacked Liberty team that's healthier now with Jonquel Jones, and as I mentioned, I believe yesterday's show, they're going to add, Finals MVP Emma Meeseman here in a very short time too as well, so they're probably the favorite to go back-to-back and win it all.
Back at home tomorrow night, the Aces in town, and then up in Chicago.
That's
coming
a big
up
one, by the
Sunday.
way.
That is a big one. Standings-wise, it also is a big one for the Fever coming up tomorrow night. Colt City started to come to life behind us. It will open up, I believe, at 9. I think it's usually an hour before each practice out here starts.
You getting a test running?
After watching JMV in a boot, and I want to say Mike Wells might have got hurt doing a softball activity. God, you would hear the torn Achilles from Monument Circle, I feel like.
Well, I don't want that to happen because I need you to be available to walk the sidelines and tell me if, because of Kevin's height here, as those on the show, I'm sure you've seen him in person. Because of your height, I'll usually ask you about 3 or 4 times in practice. Who was that to? Because I can't see over the big offensive lineman in front of me here on the sideline.
Sometimes I get asked this, honestly, from fans here at training camp. They'll be like, wow, you're a lot taller in person. Do I have a 5'9" voice?
I don't think so. I think it's just you're a radio guy, and so people just don't expect radio guys to be tall. And honestly, you're way taller than the average human. Aren't you like 6'3"?
6'3".
Yeah, so I don't think I would expect anybody to be 6'3" when I haven't met him in person.
Are you lacing them up? Are you going to go over there for the old 40? I mean, the 40 is right behind us.
Don't tempt me with a good time now. I will stretch. I will certainly stretch, but I'll try
over
to get
the 12 days of camp, if you ran a 40 right now, of all the people that run over the next 12 days, where do you think your 40-yard dash would rank?
Oh.
Would you have a top 7 40-yard dash at the end of 12 days?
No, I don't think so.
You think we got some real athletes coming out here and running the 40?
Yeah, but I don't consider myself a real athlete. That's the thing.
What do you mean?
I'm running like a 6-second 40,
You're out there hooping.
I know, but, I'm an endurance guy. There's a reason in high school that I ran the 800 and the 400 instead of the 100 and the 200.
No, we did this a few camps ago, Kevin. I don't know if you remember. I think it was in the Kevin and Query days, but we asked, I think, Mike Wells who would win in, a flag football game or in a 40 time between the beat reporters. And then all of a sudden we were getting everybody chiming in because they were saying, what do you mean I'm going to finish last and this and that. So out of the beat reporters
laid out.
Out of the beat reporters, James, are you taking first in a 40 time?
Oh, yeah, I'm taking it. I think I'm taking a dub.
I mean, Mark,
but I'm the youngest guy here, so that's not really competition.
If you ever saw a group pic of us, you would be. That's not the greatest compliment in the world. That's like saying you're the most accurate Colts quarterback.
Nate Atkins, I feel like could throw some bows or something and throw you off your game.
He could bench press.
Yeah, he could definitely out-bench me, but as far as running, nah, I got that.
Colts City again coming to life here.
You don't believe in me, Mark? That's okay. I was born into a family of haters, and so I am used to this.
I just want to see this happen. I want to see the beat reporters get out on the 40 and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know if there'll be anybody covering the Colts for the next couple of practices.
Signing waivers.
After that, yeah, exactly. The medical team would have to be over there. 10 a.m., that's when practice gets underway today. Again, a ton of people ask, is it good to bring kids, things like that? Yes, Colt City is absolutely perfect for that. Again, practice is only an hour long, so plenty of time to dabble in a little Colt City, but also check out your favorite team. Come say hi to us. We're up here in the northwest part of the Grand Park practice fields. Again, Josh Downs at 7:30. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, and Mark Dykton here on a Wednesday. This is the Fan Morning Show. 10 a.m. today, the Colts will start training camp practices. You do need a ticket, by the way, to come out here to Grand Park. These morning sessions, though, are free, I believe. Parking, though, I want to say it's like $5. So head to Colts.com/camp. You can find mobile tickets up there. But a great opportunity, of course, to see the Colts here live in Westfield. Morning practices today, tomorrow, and Friday. Late afternoon Saturday. Off day Sunday. Morning Monday and Tuesday. And we'll have tons to react to from Chris Ballard a little bit later in the show. Again, Josh Downs will play that for you coming up here at 7:30. James Wood, we hit it on it in the opening segment, but last night it really got away from the Fever late in the third quarter. I thought they were extremely competitive there through the first 2.5 quarters. You made the analogy to Game 7, Pacers Thunder. Yeah, it kind of had that feel to it. I think it's kind of a good way to put it there, and eventually life without your star becomes difficult.
Yeah, and there is no rest for the weary. You're back at it tomorrow night at home against the Aces, who just jumped you in the standings. The Aces are now in 6th place. The Fever at 12-12 are now in 7th place. And a reminder for those listening, the top 8 teams in the WNBA make the playoffs, and the Washington Mystics, who are in the 8th spot right now, are 11-12. So you don't have much wiggle room to work with, which is why each game, obviously, is very, very important.
The Reds back to stinking at baseball. They lose to the Nationals. The Brewers finally lost. They got 2 hit by the Mariners, so Joel Erickson will be in a pouty mood on this Wednesday morning here.
Is he allowed to be in a pouty mood after
Colts
that
camp.
run they had?
Knowing him and how much that man, I sit behind him in the Colts media room. If the Brewers have a day game, he's got the full game dialed up. I mean, he's watching live.
It's impressive because he also gets his work done very fast.
He does. The Cubs shut out the Royals 6-0. Indians back at home. They got a win. I believe Chase Briscoe in the house. Speaking of the Brickyard upcoming this weekend, I believe he's in the house tonight. Toledo, the opposition for the Indians. The TBT last night over at Hinkle, the Indiana flavor struck again. Fail harder. It's been a great story, honestly, getting to know this team a little bit here. They have now advanced to the final 8. Again, it's a $1 million take-all tournament. This team is made up of a good amount of Indianapolis, Indiana kids that I would say probably mostly played at a lower level. From a college standpoint, Darius Adams hit the game winner last night, baseline shot to defeat the defending champs, Carmen's Crew. So now Fail Harder will go on to Wichita. That's where the final 8 is. Sunday will be their next game here. So they got it done last night at Hinkle. Couple NFL items from a local standpoint. You see Julian Blackmon joining up with the Saints.
Yes.
And that's Honey Badger retired yesterday. That was one of the big news items.
Yeah, on the eve of camp.
Retired, right. So Julian Blackmon, I assume that's a starting job for him?
I would imagine, just because, one, Julian Blackmon, when healthy, is a starting caliber player in the NFL. And two, what other options do you have at this point in the offseason if you're the Saints?
Terry McLaurin among the holdouts here.
Pay that man.
Big level, again, the Cathedral product, and I think this is one that applies a little bit, not apples to apples, but a little bit to what we could see with Michael Pittman Jr. next year. If you look at Terry McLaurin, James, 29 years old, 3rd-round pick, already signed the second contract, but it was just a 3-year deal. And so this is the thought process with some of these 3-year second contract guys of, I want to get to the open market one more time in a big manner. And again, McLaurin still has 1 more year left on his deal, but that's kind of the thought with Michael Pittman Jr. He said this on the record that, his thought process is next offseason, if he plays well, he would need an extension. Now, I would say if we're comparing Terry McLaurin to Michael Pittman Jr. so far in their careers, I would vote Terry McLaurin the better player. But still, this is a little bit of that thought process here. So we'll see what magic Buddy Baker can play out here for his client.
Yeah, I understand the age, but I'm looking at his numbers right now. I believe he's had 5 straight 1,000-yard seasons, 13 receiving touchdowns last year. And also from a leadership and character standpoint, that's a guy that you might want to pay. Not even might, I think you should pay, because if you don't pay that guy and you go back in the locker room, I mean, how do you look those guys in the face and tell them, we appreciate everything you guys are doing for this franchise?
Especially with a young quarterback.
Yeah, and considering that he was part of that rebuild. Like, he was there for your dog days. Like, Jaden Daniels got there, and obviously they flipped a lot of things around, but he was there when you guys were terrible, never complained, went to work, and now he's asking for one more raise, which I think he's deserving of.
What did Chris Ballard have to say yesterday? A couple of interesting clips, to say the least. We will throw that your way coming up. And again, Josh Downs, we chatted with him after our show yesterday. We'll play that for you on the other side. He did answer the question. Him versus Kenny Moore. Best out of 7, one-on-one. The wide receiver did not hold back at all. We're live from training camp here in Westfield. This is the Fan Morning Show. All right, we're back here at Colts camp. Josh Downs, we caught up with him after practice yesterday. We'll play that for you right now. Here at Grand Park, we're back. Colts' first day of practice in the third-year wideout. Josh Downs joins us right now. Josh, you were talking to the media a little bit earlier. You mentioned different focus, kind of some of your off-season training. Could you expand a little bit on that? What was different about the off-season months?
Yeah, just really looking at my game and what I feel like I need to improve on, and then started working with a new receiver trainer and tried to hone in on those specifics and work what I feel like I need to do most importantly, and then also refining the things that I feel like I do well, and then really just being in shape is a huge thing. So pushing myself to the limit of being just tired. I mean, a lot of football is played when you're really exhausted. So it's like going out there and working out when you're 100% every day is not really realistic, because after 2 days of camp you're going to be already shot. So at the end of the day, those two things for me were very important.
Which wideout is winning the conditioning test?
See, I mean, we're a competitive group. I think if we just doing conditioning, I would win, but I think Alec would say he'd win. I feel like AD would say he'd win. So I mean, I feel like
he didn't mention Pitt. Is Pitt a little?
I know.
I don't think. I mean,
I'm just joking.
Hey, look,
You not pay for anything out in California earlier this summer?
Nah. I mean, I'm just going off who I think is most athletic in the group. And then, so you can throw Doolin in there too, and then Anthony Gould, real athletic as well. So we got a pretty athletic group.
So you mentioned that wide receiver room, which I think is probably one of the strongest groups on this team.
Mm-hmm.
How do you all push each other when it's only one ball? And obviously you're happy for someone else's success, but as you mentioned a few minutes ago, you want to make sure that when I'm open, the guy goes to me. So what is it like just battling with those guys in the room to raise the level?
Yeah, we're all a family. So at the end of the day, your brother doing good. You're really happy for him, but also, as you know, receivers all got that little not diva, but every receiver wants the ball. So you got to just go out there and take advantage of every opportunity you get. So like times like this is the perfect time to go out there and do what you're supposed to do. When they call your number, make the play. So then when Sundays come around, they have no other obligation to, but then they call your number. And then I mean, the targets, that's just what it may be, but you got to just go out there and make the plays that come your way.
What's the best thing you did this offseason? Favorite thing you did this offseason?
The best thing I did, like, can I go back into the spring too?
Sure.
Oh yeah, best thing I did. Me and my girl went to Disney World. That was a great time.
Oh boy, now that sounds like hell to me.
Because he got kids.
Yeah,
I ain't got no kids right now, so it's a little different.
So adult Disney World looks like what? I mean, are you riding?
Ride the rides. Orlando. We stayed at this place called the Conrad. They got a great golf course, great spa, excellent food there. So it was like
that sounds a lot better.
You feel me? Yeah, it was like there was a lot of stuff besides just Disney World, and then like Orlando has good like restaurants and stuff. So we was out there eating too.
Gotcha.
There you go. All right, we mentioned a little bit earlier the California trip. Obviously teams do this pretty much every offseason where the QBs and the pass catchers get together. What was that like for you guys? Take fans a little bit behind the scenes and what you guys did. Obviously some work on the field, but also a little bit of fun time off the field.
Yeah. No, work on the field in the morning, and then the rest of the day is really like team bonding kind of thing. Like I said, we went fishing, we went golfing, and then we went out to dinner every night, and then sometimes went out. But it's a good time to just like I said, see your teammates off the field and not just like every day go out there and see the dude with the helmet on. You're hanging out with them off the field at a restaurant, going fishing, going golfing, so you really see like their true personality. And football brings you a lot of your closest friends. So I feel like a lot of my best friends in life are from football. So I feel like that opens up that window as well.
You got some Scotty Scheffler in your game?
See, look, I'm all right. I say Alec is the best golfer in the group, but if I really want to work at it, I can be good. But I've just been inconsistent at the work.
That sounds like every golfer I ever talked to.
Sounds like a guy that's got a little bit of the itch, though.
Yeah,
you like the golf game. It's just about
fun.
putting in some more time.
Yeah, it's just fun. But golf is one of them sports. It's just so, like, you think you're doing good one hole, and then you get to the next hole, and it's
humbles
just
you
like
quickly, right?
You're just like, whoa, what is this? And so, yeah, it's tough.
Josh, you mentioned a few minutes ago that obviously the goal this year is to get to the playoffs like it is every year.
Mm-hmm.
But What have you learned just through the first couple of years of your career about how hard it is to win at this level and how hard it is to maybe sustain that in the NFL?
Nah, definitely it comes down to like who's the most disciplined team and who makes the less mistakes, because the talent gap on each team is so slim. So at the end of the day, it's being disciplined. It's really doing everything that when you're tired, you're not going to go out there and make mistakes. So I feel like, winning at this level is incredibly hard, because you can watch a team on film and be like, they might not look that good, but then you go out there and play and it's like, well, they beat us, and it's like you see back on the tape you made a lot of mistakes. So at this level it's just I feel like it's about discipline and making the less mistakes than the team in front of you. So this year we gotta just hone in on the details. Everybody do their job.
It's been a nice start to the NFL career for Josh Downs. He's with us here, year 3 upcoming for him. If you could take any quality from one of those other wideouts in your room and put that into your game, what would it be?
Any quality. Let's see. I'd probably take AP's deep ball ability. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, he just mosses, dude.
Yeah, I'll take AP's deep ball ability. I'll take that.
What would they say for you? What would they take from you?
They probably take my quickness, or let's see, my quickness, or I'll say my agility.
Now, we had Kenny Moore on the show yesterday. James and I were going back and forth. Would Kenny or Josh take the bait? Best out of 7 one-on-one out here, you or Kenny?
Did he take the bait?
Well, I was hoping you'd answer first.
I mean, I'm going at best out of 7. I mean, I'm going with me for sure. Best out of 7.
Like Pacers Thunder, best out of 7?
Nah, like
a pretty good matchup, 4-3, or we
like
sweep?
4-1. 4-2, maybe. Yeah, 4-1. Yeah.
Man,
Spoken like a true wide receiver.
I would give him 1 out of respect. Well, 2 is out of respect. 1, I'll give you 1.
Now, Kenny wouldn't answer. Is that a lack of confidence out of him?
Nah. It's just him. He just being a vet, and I'm just the youngin. So you got to bring it to the vet. That's how it goes in every sport. The young cat got to go after the OG.
Now, from afar, when I see 1 versus 23, I perk up. Like, I'm like, this is good versus good. Do you feel that way, like, when you see him across from you?
Yeah, for sure. I love going against Kenny. He's one of the best slot nickels in the league, best corners in the league. So I know going against him every day is going against the best. It's not just going against like some slap that's in front of me. So I feel like when he's in front of me, I'm giving my best every time, and he helps me go against better guys on Sunday as well. So he's better than most of the guys on Sunday, so he helps me in that manner. So I love going against Kenny. I really only go against him in a lot of drills because I feel like that's how it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to try to go against somebody that's not the best.
Josh, obviously you don't decide who's going to start at quarterback, but what has it been like just building chemistry? Obviously you know AR already, but building chemistry with Daniel Jones throughout this quarterback battle.
Yeah, DJ's a great dude. So I mean, you gotta mess with both of them at the end of the day. They're both really good quarterbacks. But they both go with the ones. They rotate. So it's like when I said, when your number's called, you got to make the best of the opportunity. So he's a new quarterback, so he comes in. If a play is called to you, it's about making the play, because that'll build confidence with you and him. If you keep messing up, or you're not getting open or not catching the ball, then that's his first impression. And he's like, I don't know about this guy. So that kind of hurts you. So right now is a huge opportunity, as well as the spring. Like when your number is called, go out there if he's in there and make the plays, as well as AR, because he's, even though we've known him for a while, we still got to build that with him each and every year. Not every year is the same. Not every week is the same. So.
Just a couple of minutes left here with Josh Downs. We appreciate his time as Colts training camp is getting underway. How would you describe an Anthony Richardson thrown ball? How would you describe a Daniel Jones thrown ball?
They're both really good balls. I mean, I'd just say, like, Anthony has like one of the strongest arms in the league, so it's just a little faster. Yeah, that's all.
You mentioned in your media session that you're kind of hoping the playbook opens up a little bit more for you, or you feel like it will open up a little bit more for you. Could you kind of expand on where you think your game will grow, I guess, as Shane Steichen's offense?
I mean, as the years goes on, the coach's confidence in you gets better, and you get more confidence in the office. So I feel like they just give us, like, not even just me, like Pitt, Alec, AD, they'll just give us more freedom in what to do and allow us to, work even more. Because when you're a rookie, they kind of, like, try to tell you what to do, but they don't want you to do too much. But as like we're vets in offense, they're like, hey, y'all can maybe add this to your route or do this a little more. So just things like that.
So I'll end it with this. I know it didn't end well for the Pacers with Tyrese Halliburton and the Achilles, but you were pretty early on saying they were going to the finals. I want to say it might have been like in the second round of the playoffs. Yeah. So what was it like for you as, who plays a professional sport to be a fan of them and see them go on that run?
Yeah, and it was cool to see how they really got the city to jump and be alive. And it kind of like motivated me in a sense, like, hey, like if they can do it, like we got to do it as well, because I mean, everybody was down on them as well. They were saying they was going to lose to the Bucks, then the Cavs, then the Knicks, and it's like they just keep winning and winning. They really could have won the last game. Like when Halliburton got hurt, it broke my heart. Actually broke my heart a lot. So I was looking forward to them winning. But yeah, I mean, motivation to us and the team as well to pick up our slack. Like, okay, they made it to the finals. Like let's do something ourselves so that they can see that we're on our way as well. So
last one. Have you had to show any IU fans that punt return from your brother just to remind them?
They already seen that punt return enough. I post it every time I see it. And they were mad that day when I was going for Ohio State. They was like, "Dang, you're gonna betray your state." I was like,
"Blood, people."
I'm like,
blood.
Dang, I think family trumps everything else, but I was like, I guess not. So
no, 1,000%. Josh Downs, year 3 in the NFL. He is with us here live at Grand Park. Josh, stay healthy, man. Appreciate the time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Always enjoy the Josh Downs conversations. James Boyd, that is a very quality football player. Over-under catches for Josh Downs this season. What did we say, 72 last year in a 14-game season?
So I'll set the over-under at 77.5.
I'm going to hit the over, and I really think an injury, and again, we saw it unfortunately out here last year. Remember, Nick Cross took him to the ground, and he shouldn't have, and it cost Josh Downs the first 2 games, right, last year?
Yeah.
It might have even been the first 3, but that was
I know
huge.
he missed the first 2 because he was not available in Green Bay.
Well, he started 0-2, and I think not having him, and those one-possession games were huge. So
yeah, even yesterday he mentioned, I hurt my ankle in camp, and I was like, no, you didn't hurt your ankle.
I was going to say, you did nothing wrong, man. So enjoyed that combo. That'll be up on the podcast if you missed any of that. We will play the Chris Ballard audio in just a minute. But if you missed it last night, Keys to the Game brought to you by the Hubler Automotive Group. Check out your next car at drivehubler.com. That's Indiana's giant automotive group. James, the keys to the game were unraveled for the Fever last night. 19 turnovers. That would be a season high, and I know it sounds very elementary, but they also just stopped making shots there. And I thought they got some bad shots. Late third, early fourth, and that thing, it didn't snowball. That was an avalanche.
Yeah, and Sabrina Nescu woke up as well. She had been struggling throughout the entire game. And I want to say she might have got a foul on her or got fouled by Aaliyah Boston, and she just kind of woke up the monster there for a few minutes. And I thought that, Sab, as they call her, Sabrina Nescu, just buried him.
Chris Ballard yesterday met the media, and I want to make sure, probably 8 o'clock hour, we'll get to James asked him, I thought, a very direct question about, do you kind of view this as a make-or-break year for Anthony Richardson? And Chris certainly had a strong opinion on one side of that. We'll play that for you coming up the 8 o'clock hour. And honestly, we do have to get to Kurt Signetti, because I think right now he's making his way through the SEC radio shows after pissing off that large Colt.
And he's beefing with Kevin Bowen.
I guess he was I did see somebody ask him about the Barry Odom.
I did see that as well.
A little shout out. I don't know if 107.5 The Fan got a mention for that, but nonetheless, Chris Ballard was asked yesterday about the current playoff drought, and just to remind everybody, it is 4 years. As I said on yesterday's show, there are only 3 NFL teams right now that currently have a longer playoff drought than the Colts. It's the longest this franchise has experienced in over 30 years. Here was Chris Ballard's answer to that general question yesterday.
Yeah, it sucks, man. I mean, first time in my career I've ever gone 4 years without making. I mean, no, it's a bothersome thing, especially with the expectations we have here in Indy. I mean, that's the one thing with Jim that I always appreciated, man. Like he don't want to be average. He wants to be great. And that's Carly and I. I mean, look, we spend a lot of time together because she's around us so much. But she always said, look, I don't want to be good. I want to be great. And that's always the goal going in. And 22 was 22 to lead. The 23 season, we last game of the year, we're right there. And even last year at the end, we didn't play as good as I thought we should have, but we were still kind of in the mix. And then you go back to 21, and we're in the driver's seat and we piss it down our legs. We have got to finish better. Like that, at the end of the day, we have to finish the seasons better because we've had some really good football teams that just haven't got it done.
James, what do you make of Ballard's overall tone yesterday in regards to, those sorts of questions, the bigger picture, the resume, getting a year 9, those questions?
He was typical Ballard when it comes to the defense of his resume or lack thereof, and I thought that there were times where he sort of will get politician-y and give us some sort of round-the-way answer, and I believe one of the questions Nate Atkins asked him was, about the pressure that he should be feeling, and he went way left to, well, real pressure is the person trying to make ends meet, and it's not football, it's life, and I get all of that, and we all get that.
It's the biggest cop-out answer.
Yeah, exactly. I certainly appreciate those, even our listeners who are dealing with real-life problems and certainly don't have the privilege of, worrying about winning and losing football games, but that is not the point. When we're out here in training camp.
In an NFL bubble.
Yeah, we're in the NFL bubble, and so that to me was sort of a cop-out. And what else are you going to say, Kevin, when you haven't had the success? I mean, when he told us in one of those answers that we just played, this is the first time in my career I've, been 4 straight years without the playoffs. I'm like, yeah, because usually guys don't last that long to have that happen. So I'm not so sure about, the defense of his resume. But if I was in his shoes, I mean, what else do you say? Well, what do you kind of come back with?
Yeah, I mean, I guess from an answer standpoint, he could have opted for a little bit more falling on the sword. That's certainly what we saw back in January. And I don't know, maybe just as the calendar turns, this is the most optimistic time every fan base. I mean, literally, 2 hours from now will be maybe where the point of all optimism just kind of stops for a second. It's like, okay, now bleep gets real out here on training camp fields, and you have good things that happen, you have bad things that happen, injuries can occur, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I thought his general tone yesterday, and again, I mean, I guess we just hit on it on the Nate Atkins question. I mean, like, you can cop out with a real life answer to every single question if you would like it to. I don't think that's addressing the issue at hand. I guess going back to the overall State of the Union, if you will, I would assume, and knowing Carly Ursay-Gordon the little that I do, I would think those facts piss her the hell off. I would think the fact that you show her 32 NFL teams and right now you are 29th on the list of playoff appearances would piss you off. I would think the fact that you haven't tasted the postseason since 2020 and haven't had a home playoff game since 2014 would frustrate the hell out of you. And I know this might sound like a weird thing to say, but I think the fact that those daughters are in the age range where
Well, it looks like we lost connection with the guys. We're going to try to reconnect with them while they're out at Colts training camp. We'll hit a break right here, but coming up, we'll have Stephen Holder in the 9 o'clock hour. We'll also talk more of what Chris Ballard had to say on whether it's a make or break season for Anthony Richardson, and we'll get into what Tyrese Halliburton had to say about Miles Turner's departure. It is the Fan Morning Show. I'm Mark Dykton, filling in for the guys as they deal with some technical issues. We'll see you on the other side. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
2 hours from now, Colts will be right here in Westfield on this very practice field at Grand Park. It is day number 1 of training camp. Again, morning sessions each of the next 3 days, late afternoon on Saturday, off day Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Morning practices. We'll play some Chris Ballard audio if he feels like this is a make-or-break year for Anthony Richardson. Upcoming in a few. James, for those that missed the Ballard presser yesterday, from a news standpoint, when you hear there will be volume restrictions on Anthony Richardson, what does that mean to you?
I do want to apologize really quickly for those who might have been listening and we dropped out. Glad to be back with you. But for me, Kevin, when I hear volume restrictions, I'm just wondering, does that mean that you're not splitting reps early on? And how could that factor into the quarterback competition? So that is where I start. And then where I finish is, how long will these volume restrictions last? You know, is this something where we're talking 1 day, 2 day, or are we going into Saturday and he's still splitting reps, or not splitting reps, but he's still not getting what we would think is a good workload for someone who is trying to obviously win the starting job?
Yeah, oftentimes when you hear individual workload will be scaled back, and this goes for any player, usually that happens in the team drills. That's when they scale back that stuff. Like Samson Ebicom, for example, coming back from a torn Achilles, he falls in that same boat as Richardson. Well, you know, maybe today we only see Ebicom do like individual drills. Is that going to be Richardson? We just see individual drills and then we don't see 11 on 11? Like, that would be the question I would have. Then again, you know, as you brought up, when does that 50-50 split occur? That would be kind of the top of mind stuff from him. By the way, I did want to share, you know, yesterday I know it went viral. Shout out to listener Alex. He was able to sync up the Young Jock song along with our dance moves. And James, you seem to be rather complimentary of my effort yesterday.
Yes, I do want to follow up here.
Were you just being supportive and a good friend, or was that genuine?
No, that was genuine. That was genuine. What did Maddie think?
I think he was more surprised that you knew what that was. He's like, wow, look at
Kevin.
Kevin.
I feel like me and Kevin are still somewhat in the same age range, so I obviously.
Come on, Mark. Come on, Mark.
Yeah, he's acting like
chiming in from the cheap seats here.
I wasn't alive from when he started covering the team, and I'm like, well, Kevin wasn't either.
Chap thinks I've got
you
got
to get another hair transplant, basically.
I'm freaking 58 years old here. Maddie's text was this: "You look like you're starting the lawnmower. Is that the goal?" Should I take that as a compliment?
I mean, yes.
I don't know.
Yes. I don't know if you start lawnmowers from up here, but
yeah, somebody said I needed to get a little higher, so maybe I should get a little higher.
I don't know.
And now she chimed in and very, of course, egocentric here. She goes, "I remember it. I'm really good at it." You know, I asked her if she remembered. You know, back in college, that was, of course, you know, a big go-to move. But then she added, she goes, "My evaluation is you look like you're starting the lawnmower, and James's giggle is so cute."
I didn't expect you to, you know, hit the move with me. I will say that, but we were in sync.
So I'm starting the lawnmower, and James's laugh is cute. That's where I'm at right now here on this Wednesday morning.
Sounds like a win to me.
Yeah, it is a win for James. James is getting compliments.
God, starting the lawnmower.
I am loved.
After we signed off yesterday, again, thank you to Josh Downs for joining us. That'll be up on the podcast. Kenny Moore II yesterday, and then we headed over a couple hundred yards south of here for the Chris Ballard annual pre-training camp press conference. As we said to lead off the show, James, from a health standpoint, the Colts are in, it seems like, pretty good health. Zaire Franklin is one that is not expected to participate, but his absence isn't likely to be too long. But in regards to Richardson, I thought you asked a very direct and a very fair question. If you don't mind, before we play the Ballard clip, just your overall thought in the question and setting up the answer.
Mainly because Chris Ballard has repeatedly stated that this is not a make-or-break season for Anthony Richardson. I wanted to follow up just to make sure his mind hadn't changed. And since it hasn't, I was just wondering, well, why does it feel like, and again, I'm not inside the building, but outside the building, we're all saying, why is it not a make-or-break season, considering the lack of success, the lack of continuity, the lack of an answer for him at quarterback? And then Ballard got into, you know, his explanation, and he referenced a couple other quarterbacks. So, Mark, if you have that queued up for us, we can definitely hear what Ballard had to say. and react to that because I thought it was interesting, and you can hear me probably interject, and if you can't hear it, I'll follow up with it after this clip.
Do you think people regret Baker Mayfield's timeline, Sam Darnold's timeline? Let's just go. Exactly. And so how about sometimes you got to have a little patience with a guy and let them grow through things. Now, there's got to be, like, if you just know this guy, no, he can't do it. But if you think, hey, he's on the right trajectory, why are you gonna flush him just because people outside think you should flush him? I don't agree with that. I think we need to give Anthony every chance to be the best he can be, and I think he can be really good, But things got to come together.
James, if you don't mind, could you share, for those that maybe didn't hear, just when you did interject there a little bit early in that answer?
Yeah. So his response to why this isn't a make or break season for Anthony was, well, do you think people regret kind of basically dismissing Sam Darnold's timeline or dismissing the fact that Baker Mayfield was talented or could bounce back? And I interjected and said, well, wait a second, those two guys change teams. And often when we see quarterbacks revive their careers, they do have a change of scenery. And then he kind of just did not really acknowledge that, I thought. Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong. He kind of just steamrolled right through it and said, well, you got to give it patience, you got to give it time. But it kind of sounds like he was talking out of both sides of his mouth because, yes, you want to give it time. Yes, you want to be patient. However, decisions have to be made about his future at some point. And you all made the decision to kind of open another layer to this by bringing in Daniel Jones. So which one is it? Do you believe in Anthony Richardson to be the guy, or do you not? Which, if you don't, that's fair because you want to go out and get somebody that can be competent at the position.
Yeah, I thought it was a totally accurate, and I would agree with you on the change of scenery being vital in those guys' careers. I've argued this.
Do we have one? Like, in recent memory, do we have a quarterback that was benched and injured and was a high draft pick, and he came back with the same team and was good? I'm just trying to think of, and I'm not saying that it's not possible,
right?
But what does history tell us? And I seriously can't think of one, at least in the last 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, I remember looking this up a little bit, back kind of in the spring when, Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson became a real thing. And I kind of came to the conclusion that if either of them hit, it'll be rather unprecedented. Now, Daniel Jones, I understand some people that would say no. He actually has more starts than Baker or Darnold or Geno Smith did in their
69 starts in New York.
Yeah, in their
Mark knows that stat.
Respective careers. Now, I have said this quite often. We live in two different quarterback worlds right now. The AFC and the NFC are two different worlds. So where did Baker go to resurrect his career? The NFC. Where did Sam Darnold go to resurrect his career? The NFC.
Yeah.
That is the world where you can do it. I don't think you
I
can
thought
do
about
it
that. Good point. Yeah.
in the AFC. And I guess in regards to Richardson more specifically, I guess there's no way for this to sound like anything but a shot at him, but it is reality. Unlike Baker Mayfield winning the Heisman Trophy in college football.
I was just going to get to that point myself.
Unlike Sam Darnold throwing for 4,000 yards in the Pac-12 when it was real at USC, Anthony Richardson's never been good.
Right.
That's real. He wasn't good at Florida. The Anthony Richardson thought has been built on hope and belief.
Potential.
And tools.
Physical traits, yes.
And potential, yes. And development. All of that. So that's where I don't think it falls into apples and apples. And we go back to the age-old question that we've had with Richardson in regards to the day he was drafted. And you and I were in that press room that Thursday night, and the question was asked, and it was asked, I think, of Shane Steichen even before Anthony Richardson was drafted. Can you teach accuracy?
Yeah.
And how much can you improve accuracy? And those questions, now as we sit here, 2 years and 3 months after he was drafted, are still there. Can you teach accuracy? Can you improve accuracy? And is Anthony Richardson good? Like, we see flashes,
right.
But the general thought, and Baker Mayfield was very good in college. Sam Darnold was a pretty good college football quarterback. You would not classify Anthony Richardson's time at Florida in that mold. I don't think – I get that, Ballard is largely just trying to support his guy, but I don't think that's apples to apples.
No, and it is tough for that reality to sort of be accepted because Anthony is the highest drafted player this franchise has had since Andrew Luck. You want so desperately to find that answer, that consistency at quarterback since Andrew Luck, but he hasn't been that guy, and that's why we're having this conversation again about who's going to start, because unlike his counterpart down in Houston, I would even argue in Carolina with Bryce Young, and obviously in Houston it's C.J. Stroud. Those two guys, there's no question about them being the guy going into year 3. But for you, that answer is still very much open.
I think we also have this in regards to Ballard right now, James. The answers are really difficult.
Yeah.
And let's go back to the Combine. I believe that was your first show with us.
Yes.
When we had Ballard on at the Combine. And when you hear him answer the question of, why do you feel like you're getting a 9th year? What do you feel like is the greatest achievement on your resume? The answers are met with, really? But that's the hardcore evidence. He can't go off of anything else. So
it was the question I had, I believe me or someone else, we all were kind of just taking, I think, fair aim at him. But I believe it was something along the lines of, did you earn a 9th season or were you given a 9th season? And this was the end of last season, I believe, end of year press conference, and he kind of looked at and kind of, took it personal, which I probably would in the same situation, but that's a fair question. Did you earn it? I'm not so sure that you did, considering your resume.
There was a follow-up there. You later asked about, the trajectory.
Yeah, because he kept saying
Anthony.
He's on a positive trajectory.
And I thought it was important that you did eventually get there. I think I was one of the people that interrupted afterwards and kind of deviated from that. But
it's all good.
You did a nice job coming back to that. And, he pointed to, which, again, this is something I totally agree with Richardson. His best moments, you could arguably say, have been in the game's most clutch moments.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Late in the Jets game, late in the Patriots game. Chris brought up the Rams comeback a couple years ago, his rookie season. He has been very good at times in the 2-minute, third down,
when it's like streamlined.
When you have got to have it.
Yeah.
So I do hear him on that. I would probably just generally go here in regards to Richard. Like, should Richardson be getting a 3rd year? I don't know if that's maybe the question that we're at, but if you're going to commit to drafting a project 4th overall, I probably think you should at least say we need to wait for the first healthy NFL offseason, don't we? If you're gonna make that choice, I do. Even though, where has he earned it? Where has he earned it from again, has he ever been a good quarterback? That answer is largely no. But if you're gonna make that investment as a franchise, and the alternatives are the alternatives, I think you at least owe it to your franchise, your coaching staff to say, and maybe even the player, to say, you know what? Let's give him this healthy offseason, i.e. right now.
Right.
And let's see what happens. That's kind of where I'm at in regards to how should 2025 play out. Should it be Richardson? Should it be Jones? That whole debate. You know what? If you're going to draft the dude 4th overall, if you're going to invest how you've invested into him, and Shane Steichen was the head coach when you drafted him. It's not like, Will Levis with Brian Callahan or Dave Canales with Bryce Young. No, this is the same coaching staff. Give him this season, healthy offseason, and see what the hell happens.
And it's kind of like they're trying to reverse engineer it. Like, wait a second, we played him too early. Maybe we shouldn't have, so let's try to back up a little bit. And if he isn't quite ready, we're not going to give up on him. But that clock is still ticking as far as his contract and years in the NFL. So even hearing how young he still is, that doesn't necessarily matter when it comes to making a choice on his future with your team, because time doesn't stop because you're young. The contract years, the 4th-year option, the 5th-year option is still coming up after this season to pick up or not pick up. You have to determine, do we want to try to extend this guy or not? Those things are conversations you have to have, and you definitely want clearer answers after year 3. And I even go back to his, Combine interview, and the viral moment where everyone was laughing at me because I just got dunked on by Anthony by asking him directly, hey, a lot of people think you're a project quarterback.
Totally fine.
What can you give a team right now versus in the future? And he told me, I don't even know what that means. And then someone else followed up and said, hey, well, you only played 13 games, started 13 games at Florida. What if teams told you about your inexperience? And he came back to me and said, well, this guy thinks I'm, a project. And I'm like, wait a second, you are. And now we're seeing that. And it's not to, rub it in his face. I don't really care either way. Obviously, I would love to see all players succeed and have success. However, the reality is that you were a project coming in, and we're seeing the same sort of things 2-3 years later.
We'll chat with Stephen Holder coming up at 9 o'clock. Again, Josh Downs earlier, Kenny Moore the second yesterday. Life beginning to happen here at Grand Park. They're setting up the practice field right now. Colt City behind us gets underway at 9 o'clock. So I believe gates open at 9 o'clock. Again, first practice coming up at 10. Still want to get to that Kurt Signetti audio in true Sig fashion. That man was ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
It took about 6
He
or 7
heard you
minutes
talking, Kevin.
before that question
Yeah.
was asked. There is a question that, maybe we can tease of, like, do you owe it to your fan base to provide a marquee September game?
Ooh. That is something to think about.
Or is it simply like, no, I don't care if it's Kennesaw State, just
I was going to
win?
say, is it marquee as long as we win?
Right,
That's probably the question.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear both sides of it, but certainly September appointment viewing inside of Memorial Stadium is not there with the schedule. And a little bit later, we'll get to that Pacers audio again. Tyrese Halliburton commenting for the first time on Miles Turner. I thought the T.J. McConnell Players Tribune piece yesterday, too, was very, very strong from T.J. McConnell. Had me laughing a bit, and at times, a tad emotional, which sounds like Josh Downs was emotional watching Game 7. Did you share that with us earlier?
Yes, and I thought it was really cool to hear his perspective on it. Like I said, Josh Downs was calling it pretty early among his teammates here on the Colts, and so it was cool to see him have that fan moment and kind of give us his reaction to the run, and also saying that hopefully it has galvanized his team to go on a run. I thought it was crazy that Kwity Paye was saying we're going to go on a deep playoff run. And I was like, wait a second, brother, you got to figure out who's starting at quarterback. But nevertheless, a lot of those guys do feel like they owe it to the fan base, and they should feel like they owe it to the fan base to go out there and have a successful season, which in my mind means playoffs or bust.
One thing I'm super curious about, you heard in the Ballard answer we played last segment, the struggles to end seasons. And hell, you could go both ways. They've struggled in week 1. We know that. It's 11 straight. No wins to start the season. And then obviously,
I have a stat for you on that, too, by the way, that can kind of validate some things for you.
Okay. Tease, or would you like to share right now?
Yeah, I'll get into it after the break.
All right. Let it sit there. And then obviously the collapses to end seasons, which we've seen quite often. The losses to quarterbacks that are Taylor Heineke, Jake Browning, Drew Lock, et cetera. I know I'm missing somebody, but et cetera, et cetera. So the question becomes, okay, is there anything you've looked into as a staff out here at training camp to try and counter that?
Right.
And Ballard was pretty adamant late in the press yesterday that this will be a more physical training camp than we are used to seeing, in that him and Shane Steichen have had long conversations. Now, I think creating an uber physical atmosphere at training camp is difficult in today's NFL world.
Right.
There are restrictions from a CBA standpoint, just from how many full padded practices you can have, how long you can be out there, those sorts of things. Now, tackling is always kind of a buzzword. I don't know if people realize, but tackling is very minimal in NFL training camps, and I would say this training camp in particular. But Ballard kind of doubled down on that on a couple of different occasions, and I don't know if he pointed to like anything super specific within the practices we'll see, but he just kind of said, you'll notice it. You'll notice it.
Yeah.
Anything that you are, I don't know, keeping an eye on, or is this just one of those things where it's the age-old, I don't know how to define it, but I know it when I see it?
I took that as if you're not a star, you might be getting thumped a little harder. For example, if you're DJ Giddens and you come through the hole, you might
shouldn't
get
the stars be thumping if those are the ones playing?
Yeah, but, I mean, could you imagine if someone hits Jonathan Taylor?
Trust me, it's a fine line, and I don't know if I'm necessarily
Michael Pittman Jr., he wants to fight everybody anyways.
Right,
but still.
right. But, like, okay, how many times did Ballard say yesterday we got to be a better tackling team?
At least twice when I was going back through the transcript. Might have been more than that.
I don't know if I need to see undrafted free agent out of Villanova tackling undrafted free agent out of Mississippi at running back. Because week 1, when you're trying to tackle Jalen Waddle in space or Tyreek Hill in space, those guys aren't being asked to tackle. So, again, I think let me be clear, I think it's a difficult question in the 2025 world that we live in with the NFL and the restrictions on it. But Ballard was pretty adamant that is something they have discussed, they have looked into, and it will be different. So I must say, again, I'm not expecting it today. I mean, hell, you can't wear full pads to win. Saturday, Monday?
Right.
I forget the exact rules on that. But when we get there, what will the physicality be, and how will it look different?
It's a very good question. And I also think that, again, if you're coming from the Zaire Franklin school of thought, you could be hearing some thumps throughout camp and kind of setting the tone there. But they have to be better at starting and finishing seasons because you're always playing uphill. And when you're always playing uphill or trying to chase a spot, obviously that margin for error shrinks a ton. So you want to go out there and try to do something different, Kevin, which means win your season opener for the first time since 2013. Where were you in 2013?
2013, I was 23 years old, living in Broad Ripple, Browse Avenue, right behind Chittard High School. That place was a dump, but, man, I loved it. Gosh, we had some great parties.
I was a junior in high school in 2013. So I was still I had hoop dreams back then, and then I stopped growing. Been the same size since my junior year of high school, and I figured out very quickly you should probably remember where the commas and the periods go because if you're going to go to the NFL or NBA, it will not be as an athlete.
Boy, my dreams were nightmares. The nightmare was hoping that the Casbah roof wouldn't cave in on me when I'd go downstairs to that bar in Broad Ripple. I think it recently closed. R.I.P. to Casbah. Mark Dykton, let's go ahead and check it down. $10 a.m. to 11 a.m., James Boyd. That is the practice time for the Colts today. Again, it is a free practice. You can get those tickets online, colts.com/camp. Guys on the sidelines, Zaire Franklin scaled back, Samson Ebicom, and then we'll see about the volume for Anthony Richardson. But as of right now, no one is technically on the physically unable to perform list for the Colts.
Which is very, very rare. I mean, you look at the rest of the league, I would argue or probably put good money down that every player or every team in the league has at least one player who's unavailable to start camp or on that PUP list. But considering they aren't, that is a good sign for the Colts.
I've dropped my phone twice today. James Boyd has had to pick it up twice today. So thank you very much for that. I apologize for.
I know, man. Is that an omen? Is there going to be a lot of turnovers that we're covering this year or something like that? Or you got to, be strong with the ball, man.
I know, sticky hands right here, non-existent for me. All right, last night in the Big Apple, it was the New York Liberty pulling away from the Fever in really impressive fashion to end the third quarter, start the fourth quarter. Boy, I thought the Fever were about ready to do it again without Caitlin Clark have one of these marquee wins. James, they were up 7 late third, and if you blinked, that thing was over.
Yeah, it was rough, and I thought that you saw that championship medal from the Liberty, but also – you just saw what the Fever are not capable of without Caitlin Clark. You needed that one more scoring punch because a lot of those buckets that Kelsey Mitchell made or had throughout that game, Kevin, they were tough buckets. And I was thinking to myself, man, how many times can you continue to make these really tough shots versus where the Liberty were running really good offense and obviously have a lot of star players. They got better looks, finished better, and obviously they're one of the best teams in the league for a reason.
Now, I must say, my brother-in-law has a massive amount of interest right now in the New York Liberty. He has got a title parlay that includes, sounds like a Mark Dykton parlay. He has the Eagles winning it all, I believe, in this parlay. That happened. Mm-hmm. He had the Thunder winning it all. That happened. He had the Florida Panthers winning it all. That happened. And the last leg of the parlay is the Liberty.
Well, he must have been feeling good because, like I said, they were already the best team in the league. And I heard a stat last night that they're undefeated with their starting five healthy and in the lineup. And then they added Emma Miesemann, who's been a great player over in Europe. And she was a former Finals MVP with the Chicago Sky, I believe, actually, in 2019. So you put all that together, and you have a good chance of going back-to-back.
Can you discuss the, how much he put down and what the payout is and if he's got a cash-out offer?
There we go, Mark. Yeah, I'm bearing the lead.
I think it's significant. Ross, if you're listening, you know where to find me. I mean, again, he's a degenerate, but he's my degenerate. I mean, I am all in on
I don't know. I think you might be calling him a genius if he hits this.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, my goodness.
Genius degenerate. Just because degenerate does not just have to be a negative term.
Okay, fair enough. I like this.
But, Mark, I mean, I think it's rather notable. I mean, a 4-team preseason title parlay, right? I mean, I think it might have been in season for the Eagles or something, but still. I mean, that's got to be. Mark, would you think there was a comma in there?
I don't know. I'm curious what the cash out is. There's got to be an offer on the table for him to cash this thing out. Is he tempted at all, or is it not really? He's letting it ride at this point.
I don't know. He's got a kitchen renovation he's got to pay for, so I don't know if he's going to let it ride here. All right, other items from last night. Shout out to the Fail Harder TBT team. It's been fun getting to know that story. A lot of local kids, a lot of UIndy flavor to it. Darius Adams, that was a hell of a shot he hit. to send them to the Elite Eight. So they win the Butler Regional. They are live for that $1 million grand prize. They will play in Wichita coming up on Sunday. Last night they defeated the defending champs. Carmen's crew is supposed to be an Ohio State team, not a super Ohio State flavor on it, but that was fun to watch there. We mentioned this earlier. Julian Blackman, Colts starting safety from the past couple of seasons. He joined the Saints. Tyrann Mathieu announced his retirement yesterday.
Is he a Hall of Famer?
No, right?
I don't think so, but I was just curious about it. He has a very good career, though.
He's in the Hall of Entertainment. I've always said
absolutely.
that. We have to have a wing for entertainment.
He's in there. The Honey
Who
Badger.
Did I won in it a couple. Oh, I won a Kyle Schwarber a couple weeks ago. Again, we need a Hall of Fame for entertaining athletes.
Yes,
and I'd say Honey Badger, especially his LSU days. I would definitely put him in that boat. And
What
Terry
about,
McLaurin,
what about
he's
Jimmy
holding
Graham? Jimmy Graham retired too. What is his status, you think?
good player.
Oh, yeah, you would have to show me some stats.
Mm-hmm.
He's not up there.
I will say,
right?
though, I don't know if you saw this, but he had like this ESPN special segment talking about his childhood and how rough it was growing up. His parents actually gave him away and kind of gave up on him, and he was talking about having an adopted mother and just how he beat all these odds. And so if you are going to go to the Hall of something, I think he's, basically the Hall of I beat the odds. And so incredible story for him. And, yeah, as long as you announce your retirement within a timely fashion, I'm okay.
Okay,
I do
so
want
we
to
have
go.
some clarity
I do want to
on
get
this.
inducted in the Hall of something. The Hall of something sounds like something I could get into a class of that.
I think he'll be in the Hall of Vibes, Mark.
Hall of Vibes?
For sure.
We
You always bring the good vibes.
We have some clarification on the parlay. Thank you to Ross Lubbers here for reaching out. It was not the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. It was Alex Pillow winning the Indy 500.
Okay.
This is a $20
harder.
$20 bet to win $1,100.
Ooh-wee.
Currently, no cash out right now. His direct quote, pissing me off. So he sounds like a man that's ready to cash out. I might say that's soft. I watched the Liberty last night.
You got to roll with that. The Liberty are by far the favorite.
I say you got to ride the Liberty, right? What about the
Yeah.
Lynx?
They're good. They're not Liberty good, though.
I bet
Liberty
that
are
cash
stacked.
out. That cash out probably comes closer to playoff time, and then they'll give him the option of, you want to ride this out before the playoffs, or you want to,
Man.
get your money.
Boy, the beauties of being a degenerate. On the other side, speaking of the land of degenerates, that would be Las Vegas. Kurt Signetti was ready to go. Per usual, no surprise there. We'll play that audio upcoming. Live from training camp, Kevin Bowe and James Boyd. Back in studio, great Mark Dykton. Fans starting to line up here at Grand Park, 10 a.m. That is when things will get underway officially. 9 a.m. gates open, hour-long practice, and we will be keeping you posted all certainly day long. And tomorrow morning we'll be back up here. I believe Jake will be here today, noon to 3, so he'll have some coverage for you. Live in Westfield. Yesterday, Curt Cignetti took to the podium out in Vegas. It took a while for the question to be asked about the buyout of the Virginia series, but you know one thing about Curt Cignetti? That man does not come unprepared whatsoever. Sig in front of a mic. Go ahead, Mark Dykton.
Spencer McLaughlin, Locked On Podcast Network. Coach, you guys recently announced that you canceled a future home and home series with Virginia. Can you talk about what went into that decision and why you think that's in the best interest for your program and the fans?
Yeah, that was a scheduling philosophy that began before I was hired, but I did sign off on it upon being hired before our first season. Okay, and look, here's the bottom line. Okay, we picked up an extra home game, and we play 9 conference games. The 2 best conferences in college football, any football guy that's objective will tell you, is the Big Ten and the SEC. All right? 12 of the 16 SEC teams play 3 G5 or an FCS game. 12 of those teams play 36 games, 29 G5 games, and 7 FCS games, and 1 less conference game. All right? So we figured we'd just adopt SEC scheduling philosophy. Some people don't like it. I'm more focused in on those 9 conference games. Not only do we want to play 9 conference games, okay, and have the 4-4 championship, the playoff format, okay, we want to have play-in games to decide who plays in those playoffs. Championship weekend, let's play 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5. You want to decide that on the field, make sure everybody's strength of schedule is what it needs to be? Let's make everybody play 9 conference games, and on championship weekend, 3 will play 6, 4 will play 5. And there's still room for another at-large in that format. And why shouldn't the Big Ten have 4 AQs? Because Ohio State actually finished 4th in the conference at the end of the season. Indiana and Penn State were tied for 2nd. They won the tiebreaker. Ohio State won the national championship. Okay? Put the best teams in the playoff, give the best leagues the AQs, but make them earn it with play-in games. And we wouldn't be opposed to Big Ten SEC regular season games every year. We need to standardize the schedule across the board if we want to have objective criteria for who should be in the playoffs and who shouldn't, and we need to take the decision-making off the committee to some degree.
Your reaction there, Kevin Bowen, as you sit there in silence.
I watched the full Curt Cignetti press conference yesterday, and the first thing that I was struck by was, can you imagine going on a date with that man?
What? Why did your mind go there?
He starts off the press conference by saying how there are 126 years of Indiana football, and they just had the #1 season in the history of the football program. He then followed that up by saying, and I couldn't really follow the stat, but he said something to the effect of they're the first coaching staff in the history of college football to start 10-0 in back-to-back seasons at 2 different schools. Like, before the waters poured at the first date, he'd already tell you about how much money he makes.
Well, you need to know you're in the presence of greatness.
He's the comedian of his group, and this is what happens behind a closed door when Curt Cignetti's there, if you're lucky to be there. So
he wants uniform scheduling, which means you should get in the conference. You Notre Dame fan.
He is the gift that keeps on giving. He is one of a kind. God bless him. Boy, there's so much there. In all seriousness, the standardized scheduling, I mean, let's be honest, we can't even agree on anything with college football. You think we're going to agree on that cross conferences?
I think part of why college football is loved so much is because we argue so much. we would lose some of that. I'm serious. I'm so serious about that.
No, I think it's a fair debate. The SEC angle to it. I get what he's saying, 8 conference games versus 9. Now, there's this graphic going around virally right now on social media that shows the SEC's, it only shows 3 of their non-conference games for these opponents. The SEC teams right now in the non-conference this year, there are teams that will play Notre Dame. 2 SEC teams will play Notre Dame. They will play Ohio State. They will play Miami. They will play Clemson. They will play Michigan. You talk about the best non-SEC teams in college football. They're playing all of them in the non-conference. So I would push back a little bit on we are adopting the SEC non-conference scheduling. Yes, SEC programs do schedule some soft opponents. They also almost universally have a major power team on their schedule, which Indiana does not have in the non-conference. Now, some would say, well, we have 9 conference games. Do you think Purdue or Northwestern really is going to count as your big ol', extra conference game?
Hey, man, I can only play the conference I'm in, Kevin. I can't, be held accountable for what other teams are doing.
And I brought this up yesterday. Why are the other 17 teams in the Big Ten scheduling a Power 4 team, but Indiana's not?
That's a good question. And maybe you should have been there to ask him that, Kevin.
And I guess the other thing I would add, too, is the question was started off by buying out the Virginia series, right?
Yeah.
Reportedly, that was a $500,000 buyout. They bought out of the Louisville series last year.
Yeah, Louisville was crazy.
That was reportedly at $1 million.
You should pay that.
So in a day and age where we are griping about college athletics and budgets and finances and how much money we need from our NIL collective, and we need everybody to come out to, French Lick and Huber Winery and raise all this money for the NIL budget. There's $1.5 million that you have bought out of games to schedule softer. In a day and age where college athletics and finances are the talk of the town, and we need more NIL money. Everybody says it. Well, $1.5 million was used to buy out of games to get softer on the schedule. And I assume if you're buying out of those games, aren't you paying the Kennesaw States of the world money to come play you? So you're spending more money to get softer on the schedule. That doesn't add up to me at all.
Is it just the optics, though? Is it just getting to a certain number of wins and then being able to argue, point differential and things of that nature to try to get into the playoffs?
I think it's a risky game to play. I think it's a very risky game to play. And I think there's a lot of the bravado of Curt Cignetti that has been absolutely gold for Indiana.
They needed it too.
But if and when they're in a position like they would have been in or like they were in last year, and I don't think the Notre Dame game helped them in that world, I don't think they'll get benefit of the doubt with that. Now, again, there's some things that Curt Cignetti said there that I can listen to, but no, I did not agree with all that. And I'll go back to the question I asked you earlier. Is there any part of you as a fan that you want to see some entertainment in the month of September on the schedule?
I'm pretty.
Or are you good with Cupcake Central?
Maybe that should be a poll that Mark puts out there. But seriously, I think you're probably good with it as long as you win. Like, everyone loves the good matchup until you lose. So, cupcake or not, give me the dub.
Yeah. I could see kind of split fans on that. Yeah. I think there are some people that want, and I obviously, like, Indiana, beat Kentucky when I was there senior year in basketball. But just the hype and the appeal around those games. When IU played Kansas a few years ago in basketball. Fair. Like, you get those on-site environments. Boy, I think there's something with that. And yeah, I mean, certainly wins and losses, dollars and cents and all that. I can hear that. But Curt Cignetti, up to his old tricks. That was yesterday. Barry Odom and Purdue will have their media day out in Vegas coming up on Thursday. Much more on the Colts opening day of training camp. We'll get that Tyrese Halliburton audio in a bit as well. This is the Fan Morning Show, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. All right, I'm ready whenever you are. All right, 3, 2, 1. As kids go back to school, it's time for you to go back to confidence. We Grow Hair Indy helps men and women regain youthful hair with the latest technology in hair restoration and hair transplants. Back to school season isn't just for the kids. It's time for you to go back to that confidence. We Grow Hair Indy helps adults get an A+ in appearance with real lasting hair restoration. Whether you're presenting in the boardroom or coaching from the sidelines, confidence starts up top. So while the kids sharpen pencils, you can sharpen your look. Don't be late. Book your free consultation now. Visit WeGrowHairIndy.com or call 317-522. Boy, that is so long. I'm going to have to do that again.
You need to move this, Casey? The squat box?
All right, Mark, you good for me to try that one more time?
Oh, yeah, you got the thing.
As kids go back to school, it's time for you to go back to confidence. We Grow Hair Indy helps men and women regain youthful hair with the latest technology in hair restoration and hair transplants. Back to school season isn't just for kids. It's time for you to go back to confidence. We Grow Hair Indy helps adults get an A+ in appearance with real lasting hair restoration. Whether you're presenting in the boardroom or coaching from the sidelines, confidence starts on top. So while the kids sharpen pencils, you can sharpen your look. Don't be late. Book your free consultation today. Visit WeGrowHairIndy.com or call 317-522-2995 for your free evaluation. Damn, that was a lot. Just do hair 30. Yeah, that works. Back to school time, and we can kind of spin that in our direction. How about back to our old confidence? We Grow Hair Indy helps men and women regain youthful hair with the latest technology in hair restoration and hair transplants. Back to school season isn't just for the kids. It's time for you to go back to being confident. We Grow Hair Indy helps adults get an A+ in appearance with real lasting hair restoration. Whether you're presenting in the boardroom or coaching from the sidelines, confidence starts on top. So visit WeGrowHairIndy.com or give them a call today, 317-5. Well, a great weather day, it looks like, here to start off Colts training camp. I know it's going to be a scorcher tomorrow, but things get underway 10 a.m. this morning. And, again, it looks excellent here in Westfield. Fans starting to line up, and it is free admittance. Head to Colts.com/camp to get your tickets. I believe $5 for parking, but it'll be an hour-long practice today. James Boyd, we heard from Chris Ballard yesterday. Position battles. Ballard hit on several. Not just, I think, battles, but also just things that kind of stand out to him from a roster depth chart standpoint. What drew your ears when Chris Ballard started to go down that road?
Well, one of the things that I really wanted to push back on, didn't have a chance to, was when he talked about the linebackers. And he got very defiant with his response. And I'll give him credit. They have drafted very well at linebacker. But he was telling us, yeah, we might not have Zaire to start, but we have a bunch of unknown guys. They're going to earn their names. They're going to earn their keep. You guys didn't know who Darius Leonard was, Shaq Leonard. You guys didn't know how Zaire was until he became a guy. But still, I was kind of like, do you really want to be doing this? Because the last time that you went into a season where it was so clearly obvious you maybe didn't invest enough into that position, which was cornerback last year, it came back to bite you very, very quickly. And so I just thought that was a bit odd that he was so adamant about that. And perhaps that's because, again, they've drafted so well and they've scouted so well at linebacker. But even then, they didn't add anybody of significance to that room to make me think, like, oh, this guy could be a starter. So I thought that was a bit odd.
Yeah, I think I've said this. Linebacker does offer some concern. There's a reason why I put Zaire Franklin 2 on the indispensable list. I've mentioned this before. I don't peg Zaire Franklin as the second best player on this football team. But when you look at the depth chart and you're installing a new defense, I think it's vital to have the quarterback of your defense out there as much as possible. And, Zaire mentioned yesterday, James, the first time he has dealt with a surgery, in his professional career. So, even for his own self, I know he's back running, but this will be an important ramp up here. He's been super durable throughout his career, and I think has played through a lot. Ballard touched on kind of that swing tackle. And that's always one that I almost kind of view as like the 23rd or 24th starter. Inevitably, Bernard Ryman or Braden Smith, banking on them to play 17 games is unlikely. So that means, Jalen Travis or Blake Freeland is going to have to be asked upon to play that role. And, for example, Travis, let's play this out. 4th-round pick out of Iowa State. Ballard mentioned yesterday he feels like he's got a high ceiling. And, when you draft middle-round offensive linemen, the high ceiling, okay, I can see where he's coming from on that. The kid played at Princeton for, 3 years, then went to Iowa State. Comes from a huge athletic background family. He's only played college football at the major level for 1 year. He's a massive frame, one of the biggest players ever to put on a Colts uniform. But does high ceiling mean year one growing pains? Like Bernard Ryman had. Remember Ryman's rookie year?
Yeah.
That was ugly.
We did not think that
again,
at this point he'd be getting paid probably very soon here.
Is all fine and well, but the question becomes this. If Travis is called upon as a swing tackle and there's year one growing pains, now you have an inconsistent quarterback situation with an inconsistent edge, either on the right or the left side, depending on where that injury. So that's probably largely a question that all 32 NFL teams have.
Yes.
But that is a question that I think is left to be answered here.
And also, he mentioned Blake Freeland. I'm just curious to know.
Bigger and stronger, right?
Yeah, like,
Freeland.
Is he going to figure it out this year? Because, again, last year preseason, he looked pretty rough, and they did not trust him. I want to say the dean, the great Mike Chappell, had it off the top of his head. He played 23 snaps last year, and obviously that is not very many, and for a good reason. So is he someone you can rely on if you do need some more depth there along the offensive line? I don't know. Which is not an answer I want to give, obviously, but it's the reality of the Colts.
Yeah, one other name I would add, too, is we've talked about this third corner battle. Like, is it real? Jalen Jones, Justin Wally. Ballard did throw Juju Brentz's name into that group. Now, again, when we talk about stringing health together, every time we've talked about that with Anthony Richardson, the same, sadly, could be said.
I was going to say, he's been more hurt than
for
Anthony.
Juju Brents. Yeah, he has been. So I guess I say that. One, it's a local angle. It's obviously someone you want to see healthy. He deserves to have some proper health. But that's a real battle. That third corner, which, again, is a pseudo-starter, Jalen Jones, Justin Wally, maybe Juju Brents. That appears to be one on the mind of Chris Ballard as well. 9 o'clock hour upcoming. We will get to Tyrese Halliburton's reaction on Miles Turner departing. But on the other side, Stephen Holder from ESPN will join us. What was his reaction to Chris Ballard's comments yesterday? That'll happen next, right here, live from Westfield. It is the Fan Morning Show, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. Gates are open here at Grand Park. Fans starting to trickle in to the Westfield facility as we are T-minus 1 hour away from the first practice of training camp getting underway. Again, an hour-long session here on this Wednesday morning. James Boyd, I must say, I don't know if it's because you've been scouring the Nike website for the last couple of minutes, but I must say our next guest, I meant to compliment him. Did you see that hat he was rocking yesterday?
Yeah, he's always very well dressed. And I will explain. I'm searching for this because Evan Sherrill, the lovely Evan Sherrill, was asking me what shorts I was wearing today.
Oh.
And I had to look up what brand they were, and I was double-checking to make sure I could send him the correct brand and name.
Boy, I'm going to say I've done this show for 4 years now. I don't know if anyone's ever asked me anything about my wardrobe in terms of interest, so I've never been there.
The Speedo!
Well, yeah, the Speedo.
We're still waiting, by the way, for someone to deliver a homemade Speedo at the request of Jeff.
Indeed, we are. Let's head to the Payless Liquors hotline right now. He was with us yesterday, and I thought that Miami hat he was rocking was a great one. Stephen Holder from ESPN. Stephen, I meant to say that to you. I liked the hat choice yesterday from you with football season right around the corner.
Hey, you listen, anything I can find on the clearance rack looks good to me. So, yeah, and I guess I'm mulling right now. Some friends of mine don't like this, Kevin. The season opener.
Week one?
Labor Day weekend. I don't know if I can pull it off because we will probably have to be back that Monday, but we'll see. We're talking about it.
Yeah, so Notre Dame opens up their football season down there against Stevens Hurricanes. Last time Notre Dame went down there to play the U, it did not go well. That is a Sunday night game, August 31st. Boy, I cannot wait. Gosh, I don't feel good, though. Now, they've got the Georgia transfer, right? Carson Beck transferred to Miami to be their quarterback with Cam Ward gone?
They do. I'm cautiously optimistic, but, we'll see. He was so hot and cold last year. I just don't know what they expect.
I know. Yeah.
So, Stephen, I teased this earlier on the show.
He's no Cam Ward, just to be clear. He's no Cam Ward, okay? Just to be clear.
I think we all kind of realize that for sure. But to pivot a bit to, more Colts-related quarterback news and really team news, one of the things I teased earlier throughout the show, and for listeners who stuck around, I was telling Kevin, here's the stat I have for you. So, obviously, they haven't won a season opener since 2013, but also from the weeks 16 through 18, since 2020, the last year they made the playoffs, they're 5-9. So they don't finish seasons well either. So if we think it's true, it does back it up with the data. So Stephen, when you heard Kevin ask Chris Ballard yesterday, how do you all start and finish seasons better, and he mentioned physicality, what was your reaction to that, and perhaps having a more physical training camp?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that Shane Steichen had alluded to before, and apparently they're sticking to that idea. I like it because I think, frankly, you have to do something different. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know what the answer is, but they don't know either. That's why they're trying something different. I thought Chris Ballard was 100% right when he talked about the way they have ended seasons, and the players talked about it too. I think it is a huge indictment because the games that matter the most are the ones that determine how your season's going to go. The games with the most pressure are the games late in the season when there's a lot on the line, and that is when they are at their worst. What does that say about you as a football team? If when the games are the most important, you play at your worst. I mean, I don't think you can explain that as anything more than an indictment. So for them to change the results, they have to show up when it matters most. I think they have a lot of talent, but they have had talent. Maybe not enough, but they've had talent. There's been a good roster through and through. They just can't get it done when it matters most.
Stephen Holder from ESPN with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Stephen, I thought we got an interesting question from Tyler earlier in the show, and I wanted to share it with you in regards to the quarterback competition. Tyler said this: if both quarterbacks are fairly even through camp in the preseason and there's no clear winner, who would then be named the starter?
Okay, so I've been thinking a lot about all of this because I have to now that I'm back from vacation. And I have been for. Hey, listen, I care. I really do care. But I gotta be honest. Like the wheels were turning slow initially. But I would say this. I have been telling people throughout the offseason I was leaning a little more toward Daniel Jones. But then, look, we're allowed to change our mind. And I will say, just kind of thinking about this and also listening to Chris Ballard yesterday, I wonder if something else might be the case. And I think what Tyler laid out there is actually great for this thought process I've had, which is if it's close, maybe you just start Anthony Richardson to start the season. You can always change. You can always go to the other guy. And if he gets hurt, then he gets hurt. And then you have your answer on what he is. He's a guy who can't stay healthy, right? So I think if they truly want to see Anthony Richardson get every opportunity, well, then you got to start him, unless he just flat out loses the battle. But if he holds his own, then you got to start him. Otherwise, what is the point of everything Chris Ballard said yesterday? What is even the point?
Do you think they think that?
Be hollow words. Sorry?
Do you think Shane Steichen thinks that?
That's where I don't know. And I think Shane Steichen is of the opinion, like, brother, I got to win. And I don't care who plays. And if that means Daniel Jones plays, because I know he's going to be out there, then so be it. I think Shane Steichen, I don't know who he prefers. I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but I will tell you this. I know that he believes he can win with Daniel Jones just as much as he can win with Anthony Richardson, because what he wants is certainty. He wants, I know the guy's going to run the play that I call. He's going to be out there, et cetera, et cetera. I think Shane is very confident in his offensive calling ability, and so that's where he probably comes down on it. But the fact remains, the bigger upside and the bigger return on investment might be Anthony Richardson. In fact, I think it is if he's on the field.
So I will pivot a bit to the defensive side of the ball. We heard from DeForest Buckner yesterday, Stephen Holder, and he did not hold back. He blasted last year's defense, saying it was the worst one he's been a part of since coming to Indianapolis, and he's been here 5 years now, going into his sixth season. So when you hear that from a team leader, how much confidence, or perhaps, how much difference did this defense look, considering that I would think that the front office agreed with him and they made some wholesale changes with the new defensive coordinator, brought in Cam Bynum and Charvarius Ward. So when you hear Buckner react like that, how much do you think that perhaps, just ignited a little more fuel to change some things on that side of the ball?
Yeah, it's interesting. He hasn't said this specifically, but I think it's pretty clear. DeForest Buckner, after last season, he had some things to say. And I mean internally. I think that is very clear. I think everything he said to us, I believe he said that and more inside in those meetings with the staff, with Chris Ballard, et cetera, because it needed to be said. His voice carries a lot of weight around here, and he has been a little bit passive about how he's viewed the situation at the end of these seasons. He has been frustrated, don't get me wrong, but he has been a little bit deferential in saying, look, last year he said, look, I trust Chris Ballard. After 2022, we were like, why are you still here? Why did you demand a trade? And he was like, well, I trust Chris. He says he has a plan, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't think he was deferential this time. And certainly Lou Anarumo, I think, is the biggest reason that Mooney Ward and Cam Bynum are here, and that we saw sort of a defensive influence in the draft. I think that is mostly due to Lou Anarumo, but I'm not so sure that DeForest Buckner didn't play a role in that too. And I think it's great. I think that he has the standing to go in there and say what needs to be said. And it's important that they listen to him because the locker room listens to him. So I think it's pretty clear to me DeForest Buckner had an impact on the offseason, in my opinion.
He is Stephen Holder. You can find his work at ESPN.com. We saw him in Bristol last week there on set there of NFL Live. Again, Colts' first training camp. Do you think Spencer Strader's the first player on the field, or do you think that's because we can only see this portion of the field?
It might be just this portion of the field because it looks like special teamers, because that is indeed
He strikes me
Spencer
as
Schrader.
someone that would be out here very early.
Yes.
Steven, non-quarterback, and I don't know, maybe we'll take kicker off the board too. Position battle you think matters the most, or one that you care the most about?
I think linebacker is interesting to me because who are the linebackers? I mean, it's a position that, let's be honest, right? Zaire Franklin isn't going to practice today or maybe for a few days. So who's playing linebacker today? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, it might be me, or it would be, except I hurt my back the other day, so I'm out. I don't know. I'm not saying it's the most important position in this scheme. It clearly is not. And Lou Anarumo doesn't seem really stressed about it. But I mean, somebody's going to have to go out there and cover tight ends and play over the middle and do those important things. So I don't want to gloss over it. You know, I just think they've done that before with other positions, and you saw how that turned out. Now, they were more important positions like the secondary and like the offensive line at times where Chris Ballard had those blind spots. But linebacker, there is some potential there. Don't get me wrong. There is some potential, but we've got to see it. Guys like Carlisle and so forth. But, you know, that's a dangerous word. You know what I mean? And again, they will be involved in some very important matchups. So I got to see it. I got to see what they got there.
So, Steven, I do want to pivot to what I thought was one of the bigger moments of the press conference yesterday with Chris Ballard, where pressed on Anthony Richardson and why he doesn't think it's a make-or-break season, he mentioned Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. But as we've all pointed out in our discussions in the media room, those guys change teams. And so what did you think of his response to the question about Anthony and, you know, preaching more patience? And also, can you name a quarterback, and you know, sorry putting you on the spot, but just in recent memory that has been through the things that Anthony has been through with one team and has come back and still been very good for that same team?
Right. I would argue there's not a long list, if a list at all. This is what I talked about last year when he was benched, and the, you know, the company line was, look, we're not done with him. And my argument was, well, everybody else was done with that quarterback. So what's the difference? Now, granted, they did reinsert him into the starting lineup because, you know, the alternative wasn't good either, which was Joe Flacco. Which, by the way, I am stunned by all the assumptions in Cleveland that Joe Flacco is the default starter to start the season. All right, good luck with that. But anyhow, and I love Joe, but, like, come on. So anyway, staying on task here, I do think that it's a little bit of a stretch. There's no question about it. Look, those guys, Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, they not only changed teams, but it also took like 6 years. Okay? So, you know, be careful of the examples you use. Now, that being said, I actually welcome the concept that, you know, we're not going to make snap judgments. I mean, look, that judgment's not going to go beyond this year. The decisions will be made about Anthony Richardson this year. I mean, that's very clear. But you don't have to make it today. You know what I mean? And I think it's okay to say right now, look, let's let this play out a little bit. He's only played 17 games. Now, his health is his health. We can't put a happy face on that. If he has a hangnail in this training camp, it's going to be devastating for him. He has to be out there every day. He cannot miss a snap. He's got to be out there and not have setbacks. If he does that, then let's see what he can do, right? With a little bit of time on task. I mean, a little consistency and continuity. I don't know what that might look like because we've never seen it from him, but I think it's worth at least trying to see what that looks like.
Steven, last one, and I am I don't know if I'm just lazy today or if we've just gotten some great listener questions. And Larry asked this of us yesterday, and I thought it'd be a good question to throw off of some other people. And, you know, we're in kind of a weird time. You know, with Jim Irsay, there's a lot of past precedent that you can kind of base decision-making off of. With Carly Irsay-Gordon, there's not that. But Larry asked this, do you think it's as black and white as playoffs or bust, or do you think if Anthony Richardson proves he can be the starter next season, yet they don't make the playoffs, that would save Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen for another year?
Yeah, there is always it's always complicated because I don't think it's ever as simple as what's the record and do they make the playoffs with any team, right? I mean, the seasons ebb and flow. What do they look like? What happened? How did you get there? I think all of that is going to matter. But I would also say this: 9 years for Chris Ballard, 1 playoff victory. He has to wear that, man, and it's a really tough thing to make an argument against if he doesn't get there this year. I would say I sense a tone around the franchise right now, and to the players' credit, I think they're saying the right thing. They're saying playoff or bust. All right, so why should we hold Chris Ballard to a different standard? Now, the question is, I'm not determining the standard. Carly Ursay and her sisters are, right? But I do think they have a high standard, and I know that this is not okay with them. This is not okay. I mean, that woman that sat up there at that podium back in June is not someone who's okay with the results that they've had. That is very clear to me, and I think that all came across to all of us, right? So, if I were Chris Ballard, I would hope that this season goes well into January. Otherwise, I would not feel very comfortable about my future. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, I think I echo that as well. Stephen Holder from ESPN debating a trip to watch the U take on Notre Dame week 1. I would highly encourage that, although I hope he has a mopey plane ride home because I'm a pathetic fan like that. Stephen, we will see you in a bit. Safe travels across town.
All right, see you soon.
Stephen Holder right there, ESPN. Mark, I got a poll. Very simple poll, if you don't mind here.
Sure.
I saw Matthew in the YouTube chat just had a very simple, the fans want Daniel Jones. So, Mark, how about that for the poll? 2 answers. Who do Colts fans want to be their starting quarterback in 2025? A, Daniel. We'll go in alphabetical order. A, Daniel Jones. B, Anthony Richardson.
Okay. So this isn't just week 1. This is like if you had to pick one QB
Just
for the
say,
season.
Yeah. Just say who do the Colts want? Who do Colts fans want as their starting quarterback in 2025? What do you think, James? I have no idea, by the way.
I think Anthony Richardson is going to win that fairly easily.
Easily?
Yeah, I think so, especially with the way my social media looks.
Because of Daniel Jones is who he is, or because they believe there's still something left of Anthony Richardson?
Because I think a lot of fans are like, if we're going to stink, let's just roll with the guy that we picked number 4 and just see if something is there, because we've already seen a very, very hefty sample size of Daniel Jones in New York. As you pointed out earlier in the show, this was not the case of sort of the other quarterbacks that have switched scenes and then kind of revitalized their career. He got 69 starts in New York. That's a lot of starts. And so that's a good point. I do want to mention real quick, and I was throwing out there, who is a quarterback in recent memory that's kind of gone through these things and bounced back. Eddie Garrison,
with that team.
Eddie Garrison mentioned Bryce Young in Carolina. And I hadn't thought about that. And I have to give Eddie some credit there for the pull, because Bryce Young had a terrible rookie season, and we were all writing him off. Came back last year and looked pretty good to end the year.
With the new coaching staff?
Yes. So there are some, that's a very rare example, and we'll have to see how it obviously plays out long term, but good pull from Eddie Garrison there.
Boy, I am loving these Stranger Things uniforms from the Indiana Fever. Have you guys seen these?
They are
These are
sweet.
fire.
Wow. Maybe this will be our Fever focus here. Brought to you after every game by Payless Liquors. Get more and pay less at Payless Liquors. Who cares about the game last night? Boy, Fever going to look good in these jerseys. And, Mark, I think I saw the Indianapolis Indians are going to rock some Stranger Things uniforms coming up, I believe, on Saturday night, and they also look excellent.
Yes. Stranger Things, the final season starting soon, so everybody's revving up for that final gasp of Stranger Things. But, yeah, those Fever jerseys and the Indians jerseys both look great. I need to try to snag a couple of those.
Can I mention that we have some Colts royalty in the house with Rick Venturi walking by? I always joke with Coach, and I'll make this joke with him later. Whenever the football gets to flying around, he emerges. He comes out of hibernation, and he's ready.
He's
ready.
Like $1 million. And not only Rick Venturi in the booth, but I believe Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts, is here as well. And I think that I've seen a little bit more activity on social media from Matt Taylor. I don't know if this is the millennial in him coming out or what, but all of a sudden it popped up of you should follow Matt Taylor on Instagram. I'm like, is hell freezing over?
Yeah, now we're going to get him on TikTok.
Unbelievable.
I got a couple dances for you, Mayte.
Gee, well, as long as
Young Jock is the first one up.
Yeah.
As long as he's not on OnlyFans, I think we're probably good on that front. All right, upcoming in a few. What did Tyrese Halliburton have to say about the Miles Turner departure? We'll share that audio. Let's check it down, Mark. What do you think, number training camp for Rick Venturi?
Ooh, it has to be at least.
I'm going to say 51.
I was going to say in the 50s.
Rick Venturi, what number training camp is this? 43. I was a little high on that.
So you and Chap are like right together. I think Chap's at 42.
You got to remember, though, I started with the Colts.
Oh, okay.
He's got 2 Baltimore years in him. Look at that. He's got some Baltimore years to him.
Ooh, okay. I'm sorry. I shortchanged him.
We'll hopefully get a little combo with Rick in here as we inch closer to the preseason schedule starting 2 weeks from tomorrow. That'll be in Baltimore. But again, James Boyd, crowd starting to fill in here. Nice turnout for this opening practice of training camp. We got good Jimmy in the building, so everything is underway here. He's a big Miami Hurricane fan. Non-Richardson storyline you care about today would be what?
Ooh, that is a good question because obviously that is the biggest one.
And to be fair, this is going to be a little OTA-like. Today and tomorrow is kind of a reacclimation period before we'll ramp it up a little bit more.
Honestly, I want to see Travarius Ward. Didn't get to see a lot of him throughout the spring, so let's see what the big-time, big payday cornerback looks like in real action.
Again, morning practices each of the next 3 days, Saturday afternoon. It's the longest stretch of camp, 4 consecutive practices here for the Colts. All right, last night the Fever, as we mentioned, not good there, ending the third quarter, start of the fourth. James, they honestly played, I thought, one of their best stretches we've seen without Caitlin Clark all year. And then, boy, it just got away from them in a hurry there late in the third.
Honestly, that effort last night probably gets you a win against every other team in the league except that one, which is a defending champ with the return of Jonquel Jones to their lineup. So they were getting healthier, and you're just trying to tread water there. So tough loss, but like I said earlier throughout the show, Kevin, no rest for the weary because they have the Aces coming up tomorrow, and that is a big one for the standings.
Yes, and again, up in Chicago coming up on Sunday. Baseball-wise, yesterday, Cubs shut out the Royals. The Brewers finally lost. Joel Erickson will need some Kleenexes to wipe away his tears from that. I don't know why I said that. They've won 11 in a row. Joel Erickson probably doesn't care about one game. And the Reds are currently in their stink mode there.
Are you going to abandon being a Reds fan? Are you going to abandon following this team?
Haven't played that one in a while. I thought I'd dust that one off.
No. As much as I want to be mad at you, I really can't be too mad about that. Julian Blackmon with the New Orleans Saints. So we'll see if the former Colts safety can find a permanent starting job there. Of course, Cam Bynum, the new starting safety here, next to Nick Cross. Nick Cross, a guy that had a really nice training camp last year and turned that into, I think, a really promising third season for him. And Terry McLaurin holding out, although I did see
the man.
We have, and I love this during holdout season. Like, people are tracking like Trey Hendrickson's car driving to Florida. I did see that someone tweeted that they were in the yoga class in the D.C. area with Terry McLaurin this morning. So he's in the area. He's not here in Indy, in his hometown necessarily. So he's close by, but he is apparently holding out. And again, this is the final year of his second NFL contract. And so we'll see how that plays out for a team that certainly was a bright spot last year across the NFL.
Sometimes I just look at him, and I wish that I could be as buff as Brett Bensley.
Brett Bensley?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the shoulders, the traps, the deltoids, I'm just naming body parts. I don't even know if these are the right ones.
No, something you've never said about me.
Yeah, well, I don't want to be, too, profuse in my love of you, Kevin. You do have a wife and kids at home.
Well, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure Maddie's very worried. Although she did compliment you on your giggle earlier. I did see you doing the stanky leg earlier.
Yes. The music, kind of hit me, and when you hear the stanky leg, you gotta get a little stanky leg in there.
It is stanky up in Westfield as James Boyd rocks that on the camera. If I did that, I might be at the nearest local hospital here. So I'll probably continue to sit down. On the other side, what did Tyrese Halliburton have to say about the departure of Miles Turner? We'll play that for you next. Well, boys, I think you might be surprised by the old poll results here of who do you want to be the Colts starting quarterback in 2025. Very simple poll, Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. We'll share those results upcoming. Shout out to Layman and his father making the trek here from Toledo. James and I just chatted with them during the break. They're staying over in some cabins, the Greenfield area, and they're here 4 straight days. Again, the longest stretch of Colts practice here at Grand Park is this week, 4 in a row to begin things right out of the gate. Players starting to trickle out on the practice field. Fans are in the building, and it is a gorgeous Wednesday morning here at Colts camp.
Yeah, you're hearing the kids screaming in the back, running their 40 times, trying to catch footballs. Life must be good when you have no bills and a lot of fun.
Indeed. All right, Mark Dykton, let's cue this up. Tyrese Halliburton, we have yet to hear from him and, exit interviews or anything like that of the sense. And, again, a month ago and yesterday was Game 7 against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Tyrese made an appearance on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, and he was asked about the departure of Miles Turner, and here was what the Pacers star had to say.
Obviously, since I've gotten here and just for the last 10 years, Miles' name has been synonymous with our organization, and he's done a lot here, and I think that people have really taken a liking to Miles, and he's done some great things, been a part of some great groups, but I think at the end of the day, it is a business. He's got to do what's best for him, and wish him the best moving forward. I mean, my focus is now on the guys that we have here and getting better here, but yeah, wish him the best, moving forward.
He's done a
Does Tyrese Halliburton ever misspeak? I mean, that's like such a perfect answer to be like, pat Miles on the back, but also at the end there.
We ain't worried about no old girl.
Yeah.
You with your new girl now. Now you with your new relationship, your new man. Okay, let's see how it go. Let's see if, I'm a better catch.
When I show up to the dance, it'll be a little different talent alongside me.
Honestly, give you a real answer for your question. I think the only time he ever really misspoke was when he didn't speak after the Cleveland game. That was the only time I've ever seen him not really respond correctly in the media. But I do think that what he said was true. I know people want the players to be bitter. I don't think Ty is a very bitter person at all.
Well, publicly, he's not, I think, going to air that. I think behind the scenes, there will naturally be some fire around those games.
And I think you see that with him a lot more when he's on the court.
Right.
Some people carry it just, obviously guys like Kobe.
He's an emotional player.
They carry it all the time. Tyrese can laugh and joke with you, but in between those lines, man, Farnsworth Bentley, as they call him, wants to kill you.
A couple of Halliburton items in relation to his rehab. He said about 7 to 8 weeks post-surgery is when he'll lose a scooter. I think we saw him scooting around at the WNBA All-Star game. He has done some upper body work. He mentioned that. Probably won't travel as much early in the NBA season due to his rehab. He did say Kevin Durant visited him at his home last week. Kevin Durant was in town for the WNBA All-Star week, and Durant made the trip up to see Ty.
I'm being body shamed in the YouTube chat. Someone said I need to do more push-ups. I guess me and Tyrese can work on our upper body together. Yes.
Boy, I think I just eat so poorly, like my chest area just looks, halfway. Whatever.
It's all good. But I will say, getting back to Tyrese, who obviously is a much more important, his body and the way it looks and feels is a lot more important than ours. It was good to hear from him and to hear that he has heard from other people around the sports world, really, as far as the recovery process. And so we've talked about previously how close he is with Jason Tatum. So at least he has somebody kind of going through it.
Didn't he say
different timelines, but going through it together?
And I think when the overrated stuff came out, didn't he say Joel Embiid had reached out to him?
As well,
As well, which, that's a little bit more, and I know this bothers some people, but the NBA culture climate can be a little bit more from a, we're all in this together. Sort of feel to it. I believe that was Kalen Jackson and Casey Irsay-Ford. I think both of them just made the rounds here at Colts training camp. So it looks like probably all the daughters, because Carly Irsay-Gordon seemingly never misses a practice that we're at. So you could get some Irsay daughter flavor around here for opening day of camp. One more Halliburton item he mentioned, and again, I'm not here to retwist the knife at all, but this is the first time we've really heard him talk at all about looking back on his finals experience. Is he kind of summarized him from a health standpoint. We saw the video. I think Scott Agnes had that video in Game 2. Remember down in OKC when he was limping off the podium? He said he had some swelling. MRI showed that after Game 2, but felt good. Now in Game 5, he felt a little bit of a pull. That was the game down there in OKC where he struggled. The Pacers lost rather handily there. and that was deemed a calf strain. But he said what was really surprising, and again, obviously extremely disappointing about how Game 7 went, he said he felt great after Game 6. And I think we did the show after Game 6, and, that was the thought, James, of like Game 6 on a Thursday, and we did that show Friday. I'm like, he looked great in Game 6. Like,
Yeah.
I would have said no ill effects. Remember, he only played, 20
It was a perfect scenario. You blow
minutes in
him
that
out,
game?
he sits down.
You didn't have to tax him at all, so I think that just contributed to, obviously, the surprise and the shock of, when he went down.
Yeah, even just the authenticity to say, yeah, I wanted to get up, walk off like Kobe, but I couldn't. I mean, how many athletes are going to say that in the moment? So good on Tyrese for, just clearing the air a little bit there and being a little more vulnerable, which I appreciated. But also the fact that, he's not going to let this, I would imagine, be the end of the story. And that's kind of what pivot a little bit to T.J. McConnell. That's what he said in his Players Tribune article.
How about that? T.J. McConnell, we saw the Players Tribune with Miles Turner back during the season. We saw McConnell yesterday. James, I know you wanted to bring this up. I thought it was awesome. And I'll just start here with McConnell, because I know you want to share some thoughts on the Players Tribune piece that he wrote. But when Game 7 happened and we did the show the morning after, I said to you and Jeff, that loss to me, and the scene in particular of them walking off the floor, it felt like a high school team had just lost in the regional final. It felt like the college team had just lost in the Sweet 16, and you had watched this team for 3 or 4 years come together. I don't get a pro sports vibe from last year's Pacers. I got a college, high school vibe, cheerleaders crying, student sections crying, parents are weeping. That's what I got. And McConnell, really, the first couple paragraphs, he had the quote in there is, "We did it as a family." And he basically said he's never felt that as a pro at all, and pretty much said that just in his own words.
I just love the title of it to start off as a writer. It was awful. It meant everything. And I was like, what a nice, succinct way to put it, because that is what we all felt. Like, man, that really, really sucked. It really hurt that it ended in that fashion. But, boy, do we have a lifetime of memories from that, because I'm not going out on a limb to say we will never see a run to the finals like that by any other team ever, even by a player individually in the playoffs. I mean, Halliburton has hit, game winners, I believe 3 game winners during that run, another shot late. He sent it to overtime. Players have played their entire careers and have not done, in Hall of Fame players, great players, have not done that in their entire careers. So to me, it was just very cool to see TJ reflect, and also the defiance and sort of the Indiana swagger of, okay, count us out again and see what happens.
Yeah, those were the 2 big things. He said he wanted to say thank you to the fans, but also don't you dare count us out again. Those were kind of the 2 big takeaways.
That was like his classy way of raising his middle finger to the haters, I thought.
1,000%. And, yeah, he had the quote in there of how it ended was so awful, but the rest, it meant everything, which, again, is a tough thing.
And you see that with the way he plays. He gives everything.
To balance there. He did tell a pretty funny joke at the end of that Players Tribune piece about when Tyrese Halliburton got traded here. TJ introducing himself to Tyrese in the Pacers facility, and he's like, oh, my gosh, he has no idea who I am at all. I'm like, that is exactly TJ.
You know what it reminded
McConnell.
me of? When John Stockton said he was over, was it Barcelona, when they had the Dream Team, and he was saying everyone was getting mobbed, and he's like the 6-foot-ish white guy who could just walk through the crowd and people don't even know who he is. And he's talking to some lady. There's this old video of this. He's talking to some lady who has the Dream Team on her shirt, and she doesn't realize she's talking to John Stockton, which I thought was hilarious. And so similar to that effect for Tyrese and TJ.
I know I've told the story before, but it made me think of TJ McConnell and I doing the Thanksgiving dinner giveaway that the Pacers do each year. And TJ McConnell introducing himself with Jalen Smith flanking him on the other side as, "Hi, I'm TJ from the marketing department," which had to make me laugh when he said that. All right, what are the poll results? Who should be, or who do Colts fans want to be the starting quarterback in 2025? Would that be Anthony Richardson? Would that be Daniel Jones? We will give you those results on the other side. One final time. Fan Morning Show here. Kevin Bowen and James Boyd live from Westfield. All right, we're live here at Grand Park. The hustle and bustle is underway. Players on the practice field, and we are just a little over 10 minutes away from that horn officially sounding and the Colts' first training camp practice of 2025 starting. I did get a glimpse. Anthony Richardson, helmet on, going through some mental reps out there. Some of the other quarterbacks have started to throw. Just some mental reps so far from Anthony Richardson. But he is out on the practice field. Myself, Kevin Bowe, and James Boyd. Mark Dykton back in studio. We're here, of course, all week long. If you're at Colts training camp, come by and say hey to us out here. James, we had Mark send out a very simple poll. The poll has shifted a bit, but I think you and Mark maybe would still be a little bit surprised by the results of this poll. Who do you want to be the Colts starting quarterback in 2025? And as I continue to hit refresh, it seems to be the answers for Anthony Richardson continue to float in. 65% right now, Richardson, about 35% for Daniel Jones. Your thoughts on that?
It was about 50-50 like 20 minutes ago, so that was certainly a bit surprising to me. And I think, like I said, that I would win that argument, but mainly because, again, you know what you have in Daniel Jones, and I guess some would argue you know what you have in Anthony Richardson because of the injuries and the inaccuracy. But still, I think you stick with the guy you drafted because that is the one that if he hits, that I think would ideally be the most realistic path to everyone keeping their jobs, having success long-term, all those things. But so many questions in the air with Anthony regarding his health, his accuracy, as I just mentioned, and also his maturity. You know, that's not something that I can necessarily dismiss just because of everything that happened last year. You know, is all that stuff behind you? We've talked so much about the injuries and things like that, but from a preparation standpoint, we can no longer hear things about you not preparing as well as you should have, or maybe not being the first guy in, last guy to leave, all the cliches. I mean, the QB is a walking cliche. So even if you come here very early and twiddle your thumbs, just do all that stuff and have that nipped in the bud going into your third season.
Yeah, and, you know, I think some of the comments are interesting here as you take a look at those. Daniel says, we all know what we'll get from Richardson. Jones has always been a better QB, even during his worst times.
I don't know about always. It was rough for the Giants and Daniel Jones.
On the flip side, and again, like there are people liking that tweet, but then on the flip side of it, you get this from James, not you, James Boyd. A different James. He goes, Daniel Jones gets us another dumb 9-win season, no playoffs, and the 17th pick in the draft. No thanks, in all caps.
That is, I think, probably the biggest conundrum for the Colts. If they make the playoffs with Daniel Jones, let's say they go 10-7, they lose the first round, then what? Do you keep him? Do you move on from him? Do you move on from Anthony? Like that to me is like the most nightmare situation because it's just you want to have a definitive answer, and I think that will give you the most murky outcome.
Yeah, you know, if you're going to be bad, be bad. I mean, I know it's not necessarily what everybody wants, but, you know, if you look
No, certainly not from a front office standpoint.
No.
From a fan base standpoint, yeah, I think they would prefer the top 5 pick over a top,
there's
18
a
pick.
huge amount of the audience, and I get that kind of view this season, weirdly, all about being about, finding the next future at quarterback. And, again, I know that's not what wins and losses people out there want, but that is the reality of where you're at with this situation.
Yes.
So, again, things getting underway right now. I see Tyler Warren catching a few balls on the sidelines, getting ready. That lefty toss from Tyler Warren.
Yes.
How many times are we going to see that this season?
I hope we see it a few times, and even in the Wildcat. I mean, goal line for the Colts, if they get down there, boy, Tyler Warren, Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor.
They should be elite in that area.
Yeah, they should never lose when it comes to 1 yard or closer.
Tyler Warren threw, let me double check this, I want to say 6 passes last year at Penn State.
I know one of them was for a touchdown.
3 of 6 last year. Indeed, he did have a touchdown last year. So when we say he might toss one left-handed, that's what Penn State did with him. Again, thank you to Josh Downs. Thank you to Kenny Moore II. I believe Jake will have Alec Pierce joining the show today. And I think Jake's going to be here from noon to 3, so he'll be live here we'll keep you posted on the player front of who we will have throughout the week. But again, one more time from a practice schedule standpoint, morning sessions each of the next 3 days, 10 a.m. start times each day. I think it's just an hour today, maybe even tomorrow. I think we progressed to like 11:15, maybe even 11:30.
Yep.
At some point here later in the week. And then Saturday is that late afternoon practice. So head to Colts.com/camp. And, yes, if you've got young kids, I think you should bring them out here. There's plenty of activities to keep them entertained outside of just watching practice itself. And
These are future Colts out here, baby.
It's a nice little turnout out here. I saw a Jonathan Taylor jersey, and the kid had one of the best mullets I've ever seen. He looked absolutely.
He's probably a baller too.
Oh, he probably just dominates on the playground. Dominates from a recess.
Those are the days.
Standpoint. So we'll continue to keep you posted. 1075thefan.com. We'll have a notebook recap, and of course James's work over on The Athletic. Thank you to on-site engineer Cameron Blankenship. Thank you to Mark Dykton back in studio. James Boyd, Kevin Bowen signing off from Westfield. We'll talk to you tomorrow.